Morning. Glad you're with us. Tuesday, October 29th, 7 a.m. on Jocks 94.5. We got a lot to get to today. It's getting to be that time for, I don't know if this goes against your rules or not, Greg. It's the 29th of October. So I know we're not allowed to talk about the Heisman for 3 more days.
3 more. Friday.
3 more days so we can talk Heisman. Can't wait for that.
Friday's allowed. I would prefer to push it back even further, but I think it is allowed on all platforms.
Okay. Are we allowed to talk about the college football playoff yet?
Yes.
Okay. Teams that apparently...
People need understanding of the college football playoff. Based off focus group information, we do not have a good grasp on what the college football playoff means, is, how it's structured, etc.
What do you think, first and foremost, people need to understand that they might not have a very good grasp of?
They might be the third-ranked team in the country, and they will be seated 5th. I don't understand. Why is BYU in front of us? You can hear it now.
Well,
I mean, it's coming. It's coming.
And they're going to be angry about it. Okay.
Yeah.
But we knew folks were going to be angry whether they understood it or not, because the teams that are ranked 1 through 12 are not going to be in per se.
Yes.
So that's going to be problem number 1. Then who those teams are is probably going to be problem number 2. But as we begin to sort of look at it, because a week from today you'll be heading up to Bristol to do the college football playoff rankings show. So the first release will be out. What interests you the most about, because when we talked to Paul yesterday, he was kind of trying to throw a little jab at you about how you normally don't, pay too much attention to this and don't care. And you're like, no, this year my antennas are up. I want to see what it looks like, see what it's going to be like. Yeah. Get an idea what this committee's thinking. What are you kind of concerned about the committee doing? What are you confident in the committee doing? Like what has your interest piqued about this first set of playoff rankings we're going to get next week?
I'm really concerned about the committee feeling as though they need to be, since it's the first version of the playoffs. I'm really concerned about people on the committee feeling like, well, hey, the SEC got 3, we should get the Big Ten 3. Hey, the SEC got 4. Oh, well, we can't put in a 5th SEC team. Can't do it. Got to put in a 4th. We need a second ACC team. Y'all, I'm telling you, we are poised to have some real interesting conversations down the stretch. Get ready, because you're about to be potentially, let's just use, since we know where our audience lies, a 2-loss Alabama. A 2-loss Alabama could be being measured against a 1-loss Notre Dame. That could very easily be going down. A 2-loss Alabama could be going against a 1-loss Miami. A 2-loss Alabama could be being measured against a, and of course that's under the assumption that Alabama wins against LSU, which is not a guarantee. I mean, you might have a 2-loss Texas being measured against a 2-loss Texas A&M, who lost to Auburn and South Carolina, but beat Texas, who's being measured against a 2-loss Bama, who's being measured against a 2-loss Tennessee, who beat Bama. I mean, it's going to get crowded really fast. Really fast. And what's most troubling about it is that some teams' schedules are a lot more difficult than others. And I don't know if the committee is going to reward that, or if they're going to reward teams that have great win-loss records that are in the same conference as the perceived incredibly difficult schedules.
You had Notre Dame this weekend. You brought them up. How good do you think Notre Dame is right now?
I think they're really good.
What do you make of Notre Dame?
I think they're really good. I think they're really good on defense. I think their offense is improving. I don't think they're a juggernaut. I think they're a top 10 team, especially on defense. But I don't know about their offense yet. The offensive line hasn't really been challenged. They went against A&M, but that was so dang early before they kind of knew what A&M was. So it's hard to put a lot of stake into it.
Here's what's interesting about what you just said about Notre Dame. In my opinion, they're not a juggernaut. And I think most people would agree with that. It's beginning to feel like you might not have to be to win a national championship this year. What have we said about winning a national title for so many years in college football? Do they have elite quarterback play? Who's their quarterback? Can the quarterback get it done? Well, they have this guy quarterback, so they could probably do it. How many teams right now that you believe can win a national? I guess I should probably ask this question first. How many teams do you think can win a national championship right now?
Win it?
Win it.
Oh gosh, there's more this year than there's been.
Let's just go through the list and you tell me yes or no. Oregon?
Yes.
Okay. Georgia?
Yes.
Penn State?
Yes.
Ohio State?
Yes.
I watched them on the plane coming home last night, and I think my mind has maybe changed.
Yeah, they got a lot of things to sort out, but I'd still say yes.
Miami?
Yes.
Texas?
Yes.
Tennessee?
Yes.
Notre Dame? Yes. BYU?
I think BYU is legit. I don't know if people are going to say no. I'm telling you, there's some grown men playing for that football team.
Well, obviously, but yeah.
I think it's completely dependent on their matchups. But yes, if the stars align, they could do it.
Texas A&M?
Yes.
Iowa State?
No.
Clemson?
Yes.
Indiana?
Yes.
Bama?
Yes.
Boise?
No.
LSU?
Yes.
K-State?
No.
Do I need to go any further? Pitt, Ole Miss, SMU, Army, Washington State, Colorado, Illinois?
Ole Miss could.
No.
Yeah,
I'm going to disagree with you right there. No, they cannot.
If they can get healthy at wide receiver.
I watched them.
They're good enough on defense, though. Ole Miss or Ohio State, who are you taking right now? Neutral field.
Patty cake session is what you're getting.
Okay, but who are you taking?
Two of the better tight ends in college football. I enjoy watching them, 87 and 88. Other than that, it's probably who misses the most tackles loses. Neither one of those teams are super impressive right now.
No. But that's about 15 teams. There's a lot more this year.
There's a lot more. All right, so then on top of that, let's follow that up with this. Of the teams that you named, what quarterbacks are playing at an elite level? Or let's just, whatever your next adjective down from elite would be, playing at a really good level.
Cam Ward.
Okay.
Dylan Gabriel.
Okay.
Cade Klubnik.
Okay.
Curtis Rourke when healthy at Indiana.
Okay.
That's it.
So 4.
Nussmeier.
No.
I know he had the picks last week, but he's still a dude. If they could actually give him a little help, it'd be beneficial.
Let's call a run play occasionally. Just call 1 or 2.
That'd be nice.
Just call it. Not a draw, like an actual
like you said
run
yesterday,
play.
we handed it off one time out of the last 7.
It's just all it takes is a little effort. Spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down.
Heard that.
And that's called an inside zone call every now and then. That's your sugar. Because he's going to throw it to the other team. It's going to happen.
You know whose quarterbacks are playing well? Colorado and Washington State. I still don't know if they'll have enough to get there.
It's fair. But the difference in maybe how you describe the teams you think that can win it and then the quarterbacks that are playing at a very good borderline elite level, you don't have to have that for the teams to go win it. And I feel like in years past, it's been, all right, let's first go check the boxes of what quarterbacks are playing great, playing really well, are borderline unstoppable, and then we'll talk about the teams that can win it. So you might not have to have that elite quarterback play this year to win a national championship. And that's why I think teams like Notre Dame, who you brought up, maybe a Texas A&M, who you brought up, maybe a BYU, you brought up, can go win a national title this year because it might not take just having the best quarterback on the field this particular year to actually go win a national title.
Might not, which is very rare. Very rare because most time, at least in the playoff era, it felt like, the best quarterback was going to win. It wasn't always true, but it was true much of the time. Last year probably being the best example. I think Penix is better than McNamara. But is it the gap that significant? Probably not. But then most of the time, the guy that played best at quarterback was the one that brought home the big trophy in the playoff era. So it's changed a bit. I just think the discrepancies along lines of scrimmage is just so significant now. So significant. Some teams are good up front. Some teams stink on both sides of the ball. And you don't want to be one of those teams that stinks. I can promise you that, especially on the offensive line.
Well, remember the conversations that we've had this year already about if you lose a guy, it's different this year. And some teams lose a left guard or a left tackle. They look very different. We talked about Alabama early in the year. Go look at Ohio State right now. You lose your left tackle, all of a sudden, literal turnstile.
Both of them.
And
the backup got hurt too.
Yeah, but it wasn't a lot different. I mean, it was going to be about the same, I think. But still, it's all of a sudden you're a different football team, not just a different offensive line. And that's happening for a lot of teams at a lot of different positions across college football. So I think it makes it more intriguing. I think it makes it more fun. That we don't just have to go cherry pick the 4 or 5 best quarterbacks in college football and say, well, they're the only teams that can win a national championship, or they're the only teams that can find a way to get this done. Because if we're having those kind of conversations about backup safeties and backup left tackles, imagine what happens when one of those 4 quarterbacks that you mentioned goes down in the playoffs, and how different that team's going to become and how different that team's going to look. That
Which is
opens
why I have
a totally different door for other teams.
Which is why I have a lot of respect for teams that have 2 ready. Texas has 2 ready. A&M has 2 ready. Penn State showed this weekend that Bo Pribula can come off the bench and deliver a win. They were down at halftime when he goes in the ball game, and they obviously get a pick 6. That helps. But
Indiana.
He led a couple. Indiana's played with 2 quarterbacks this year. That, I think, is a real benefit. Tennessee goes down, they are done. Done at quarterback. 100% finished. I don't know Miami's backup. They had the Emory Williams kid who started for him last year. So I think he's probably going to be all right, but he ain't Cam Ward. I can promise you that.
Oregon, they'd be in trouble.
They got a highly recruited kid that they brought in.
This kid from UCLA, right?
Malachi Nelson.
Yeah. Or not, USC.
No, the USC kid went to Boise.
That's right. Yeah, from UCLA. Dante Moore. That's probably a stretch.
I think that's right.
I think this is his name.
That might feel right. Is it, well, Malachi Nelson and Dante Moore were the 2. I just don't remember which one went where.
Yeah, I think Dante Moore went to Oregon. But we haven't had to see it yet.
Yeah.
So we don't know exactly what's going to look.
What about BYU? They have Brandon Whedon playing quarterback as the backup.
He 46 he would be. And yeah, that'd probably be great. You feel good about having that.
SMU's got 2 ready. Obviously I got to get there. Pitt, Eli Holstein's hurt right now. We'll see if he's ready to go. But yeah, I mean, your backup quarterback. I think Bama's got a good backup quarterback situation, to be honest with you.
You know who's on BYU's roster right now?
Jerry Bohannon.
Yeah.
How mad?
I'm not mad at all.
How mad are you?
Not. Just to be able to turn it over to a veteran like that, who also will throw to the other team.
Correct.
On occasion.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, you got a guy that could come in and get you through a jam that's at least played a lot of college football. That's valuable. I don't think that there's any doubt about that.
Ohio State's got Julian Sand.
Okay.
I was told he was the GOAT.
I know some folks were upset that they lost him, but I don't think that that's where you would go necessarily. I think Devin Brown will probably get the reps, maybe. But I mean,
who's in the worst shape if they lose their quarterback right now amongst the top 15? I think Tennessee.
Do we know? Do we even know where Georgia would go?
Yeah. Gunner. Stockton.
Okay, so if you wanted to run quarterback power 32 times, you'd be good. He's tough as nails. Get it. Good. I mean, you think he can go run the offense?
Who cares?
By the way, Carson Beck hadn't really been running the offense.
Let's say rush the passer.
He might be okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Penn State. Tennessee feels like the right answer. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
I think Tennessee's the best answer. So I think the backup at Notre Dame's pretty good. Steve Angeli, he started the Sun Bowl. We know A&M's got 2. I don't know what the situation is behind Rocco Becht at Iowa State. I just don't know.
I'll raise you LSU.
Yes, they're dead.
Ricky Collins.
Dead.
He's 5 for 5 this year, Greg.
Don't care. Against 2. McNeese.
Again, don't remember the tape. I'm sure I've seen it. Don't remember it. That would be a 1 for 1 against Nichols, a 3 for 3 against South Al, and a 1 for 1 against Arkansas. So he has completed a pass in SEC play.
Action. But anyways, I mean, back to the original point. I think that the playoff, y'all, I'm just telling you, and I told you this last year, and it ended up working out in your favor. I was surprised, still to this day, that Alabama got in. Still am. I just didn't think the committee would do it. Glad that they did. Showed some gumption. Showed some boldness. I just didn't think they'd do it. And now you're looking at a situation here where I'm just telling you there's going to be teams that played nobody that are going to get in. And you're going to be like, what the heck? Like, what do you do with a one-loss Indiana? When you really look at it, Indiana is going to be there with 1 loss potentially. They are a 7-point dog to Ohio State.
Why are we guaranteeing that they're going to have? We just watched Ohio State play.
They might beat Ohio State.
Did not look good.
They might beat Ohio State, but I'm just saying people are going to look at Indiana with one loss and freak out if they have one loss. They might be undefeated, in which case they are undefeated. I think everybody will understand. All right, they earned it.
Who would be their best win?
Michigan.
I'm wondering if there's another team that might end up a little bit better off than Michigan, if that's the case.
No, because Michigan's 5-3. Everyone else that they've played up to this point is, I believe, 500 or worse.
Yeah, Maryland's 4-4. Purdue's 1-6.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. You're not going to have a lot of
combined record of the teams that they've played.
They really need Western Illinois to have a big year.
The best win that they have currently is Nebraska, who's 5-3.
Watched that one last night too. Good.
Bama's record, by the way, teams combined record for Alabama 40-19, the best in college football. And they're gonna have 2 losses, and people are going to absolutely lose their mind because there's a possibility they're sitting behind Pitt, whose best win is against Syracuse.
The problem right now with Indiana is the Leathernecks are not getting it done. Western Illinois is 3-5, and you needed that one to boost your strength of schedule. So it's not going to look good. Charlotte's miserable. UCLA's miserable. FIU's not good. You needed some non-con to help a little bit. Washington, maybe could they move into that spot as being?
Well, they lost. They're 4.
How about a good win though?
They're 500.
Could they end up being a good win?
Yeah, maybe. To me, a good win is a team with 7 wins or more. A great win is a team with 9 wins or more. That's the way I've always.
Here's the thing though. You say people are going to be upset with the one loss to Indiana. It depends on who you're weighing them against.
Alabama. People are going to get ready. If Clemson beats Miami, you're going to be measured against Miami. You're going to be measured potentially against a 2-loss Clemson team who right now does not have a win against a team above 500.
But it's not guaranteed those are going to be the 2 teams you're weighing against.
No, I'm just using those as examples. I'm just saying it's very crowded. Like we have to, I don't know if you've been asked to do it yet. You will. It's coming. We have to put together our projections, our college football playoff projections for our game this weekend. And I'm going to be honest with you.
They usually ask me to do that on Saturday morning at like 10:30.
Well, they asked me on Monday. But my guy's all over it. Ryan Mattingly is the best. So he's just super buttoned up. So maybe your guy is just busy. Garza. Anyways,
That guy from Ghostbusters?
No, Garza was filled in for us a couple weeks ago. Fresh off.
Jacob Garza?
Yes.
Yeah, he's not on our crew anymore.
Oh.
It's okay.
Well, he's been with your crew in the past.
He has in the past, yeah.
But you're looking at A&M. A&M's got 2 good wins against LSU and Missouri. That Missouri win that might fall off the face of a cliff. LSU might have their 3rd loss here in a couple weeks against Bama. That's a possibility. They do have a solid win against Arkansas, but who knows where Arkansas is going to finish the season. Still got a game against Texas. Still got a game against Ole Miss. And Arkansas might be 6-6 here before we know it. So you're going to be looking at A&M, and A&M might be sitting there at 11-1, going potentially to the SEC championship game, but probably not. A&M's 11-1. Their best wins of the year are against an 8-4 LSU or a 9-3 LSU and a 7-5 Missouri. They lose to Texas, and A&M's going to be in front of you because their record's better, but they really didn't play anybody, and their best win isn't close to what your best win might be, because your best win might be Georgia, who might go on to win the SEC. So I'm just saying, like, there's going to be some things that are really unfair and unequal about this evaluations process. And I'm telling you from an Alabama fan's perspective. I think people are going to be really frustrated by it because it's going to get real tricky real fast because you got to find some losses for some teams here pretty quick to feel good about your own standing. Because right now, if things were being picked tomorrow, I'm not sure they're in. They really need a lot of help. A lot of help to get to that spot.
But a lot of these teams that we're talking about in front of them too, they have games that are going to either eliminate one or the other, or give one of the teams that we're talking about a loss. So it has been interesting hearing a lot of people nationally saying Alabama does not have a playoff worthy resume with a win against Georgia. because there's just that in and of itself. There are not a lot of teams that have anything close to that in the win column. Now, you could stack up a couple of B- wins, but there are very few teams in college football that have A+ wins this year, and Alabama has one of them.
Oh, Penn State's best win might be against Wisconsin, and Alabama bulldozed Wisconsin
42-10.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just think like I'm telling you, there's like this perception right now out there amongst some teams where it's going to get tricky. Like Penn State has one losable game. I mean, seriously, like one losable game left. It's this weekend. Penn State's 11-1. They're in. They are a lock at this point. Oregon, they play Michigan. That's really it. Like they're a lock. Like that's two spots that are 100% accounted for. One of the two might go on to win the Big Ten title. Or if they don't, then Ohio State's in too, then whatever. Right. But Indiana's looming. Like I'm telling you, there's just Indiana really has one really losable game left.
Yep.
That means Indiana's probably going to the playoff, ladies and gentlemen. Like, regardless of what that outcome is.
Good. That's why we did this, to get teams like that in.
It's just crazy, though.
All right. I'll tell you about Gusty Goulas and the Gusty Goulas Group. If you're looking for a new home, imagine knowing in less than a minute without talking to an agent what your home would be bought for right now. What if you didn't want an instant cash offer but want to know what your home is worth in today's market? Now you can. Gusty Goulas constantly investing in cutting-edge technology and marketing to sell the best homes for the most money. They can give you options for your home before you even talk to them. Go to your phone right now. Go to GustyGoulasGroup.com. You'll see a button at the top of the page. You can find out your home's value with very little information and get big results. Just watch what happens. Gusty Goulas and the Gusty Goulas Group, brokered by eXp Realty, serve more than 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area. Call 205-542-1996 or go to GustyGoulasGroup.com today and start packing. All right, when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation about the college football playoff. What teams, as we sit here today, currently have the best chances of getting in? And how does that differ from the conversation we just had about who we think might get in? We'll do that next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Tuesday, October 29th, 7:25 a.m. right here on Jocks 94.5. Talking college football playoff. Ranking show will premiere next week. Craig McElroy will be a part of that. What teams currently have the best chances to get in? Based on our conversation, you heard us talking about teams we think might get in, could get in. You start hearing the Indianas of the world, the Penn States of the world, BYU, Clemson, Notre Dame. What concerns you about the college football playoff rankings and teams that potentially could get in? 800-239-9569. You want to get in? 800-239-WJOX. Your thoughts on teams that may get in that may either bother you or you think might not add up. According to ESPN's FPI, ESPN Analytics, teams with the best chances to get in right now. Miami, basically 90%. Oregon, 87%. Penn State, Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Indiana, 68%, Tennessee, 68%, which is odd because last night we ran the percentages to make the SEC championship game, and Tennessee and Texas's chances to make the SEC championship game are greater than Georgia's, yet Georgia has a better chance to get the playoff. Boise, Notre Dame, BYU, Alabama at 52.3%, A&M, Iowa State, K-State, a team we didn't mention, Clemson, SMU, Army, LSU, Pitt at 20%, Ole Miss 18%, Washington State, Tulane, UNLV. Of the teams that you look at with those percentages, Greg, who do you feel, I guess not even the percentages, just let's fast forward to next week in the ranking show. What team do you think the committee is going to get most wrong? Who will they be most wrong about when they rank these teams out? And we'll just say 1 through 15.
Like who's the team that shouldn't be there but will be?
Either too high or too low. Who's the team that you're going to look at and say, how in the world do they have that team at 6? Or I can't believe they have this team at 14 or 15. Like who's the team that they're probably going to miss the most on?
Clemson.
You think they'll have them too low?
I think they'll have them too high.
Clemson currently 8th in the coaches poll, 11th in the AP poll. They did lose to Georgia week 1. It was convincing. App State, NC State, Stanford, Florida State, Wake, Virginia. See, here's the interesting part about this is I've heard a lot of people say Alabama doesn't have a playoff resume. And if you want to believe that, that's fine. But how could you say Clemson has a playoff-worthy resume if you're going to say Alabama does not?
Their best wins against a 4-4 Virginia team.
There are no good wins, really. So
there are people that are unsatisfied with Bama's win against Missouri. And they steamrolled them. Like Clemson's been steamrolling folks, but they're not even as good as Missouri.
Yeah, I don't know how you can look at the Clemson resume and say, oh, that team definitely needs to be in. Now, are they playing good football right now? Yeah. Have talent? Of course. Yes. Probably deserve to be in the conversation.
Heck yeah.
With what they've done.
Good team.
And when you look ahead, Louisville, at Virginia Tech, at Pitt, you mentioned some quarterback concerns there. Citadel, South Carolina. So
Clemson's good. I'm not saying they're not good, but
it also doesn't feel like they have a lot of proving ground ahead of them. Some, a little, but not. They don't have that game like you're talking about with Indiana, where they get to match up against Ohio State, and we'll find out. We're going to see.
I mean, the Virginia Tech game's tough. The Pitt game's tough. I mean, that's a tough 2-game stretch. But South Carolina could expose them. I mean, we know South Carolina can play defense. I mean, there's no telling. I mean, I don't think Clemson's great, but I bet you anything, they get a win this week against Louisville, they'll be in the top 10 when the committee does their rankings, when they should probably be closer to like 14 or 15.
When we're weighing these teams out, we've talked about great quarterback play, Oregon, Miami, Texas. So those teams with their resumes, their records up towards the top. When you begin to look at a team, like let's say a Texas A&M, where should they be slotted based on what they've accomplished and what they are right now?
I would have Texas A&M 7th. I would have them ahead of Tennessee, and BYU and Notre Dame, which is not usually like me. I usually have a ton of respect for the head-to-head. But Texas A&M has 2 really good wins and a solid win against Arkansas. So LSU and Missouri right now, I would qualify as really good wins. They're both 6-2. Whether they look good or not, their record would indicate that they're both pretty good football teams. And Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame's really good. And at the end of the year, I will probably have to put Notre Dame ahead of A&M, assuming their win-loss record is the same because of the head-to-head. You have to acknowledge that.
Sure.
But at this point, I'm not as convinced that I don't think Notre Dame has any other good wins. I mean, I think Navy's average. I think Louisville's average. So I'm just not quite willing to.
Purdue's not good. Miami of Ohio, not great. Stanford, not going to move the meter. Georgia Tech looked like it was going to be a good win for a minute. They're 5-4.
Yeah. It's just they just haven't beat anybody else. And people put a ton into the NIU loss. I'm not. To me, your bad day is your bad day. Like some people are like, oh, you can't put in a team that lost to NIU. That doesn't bother me that bad. Like if you play bad and lose against anybody, I don't care if it's a G5 team or a top 5 team, they all count the same. I don't feel like, I've always said this, and people think that it's like some revisionist history. No, I just think that all losses are created equal. Not all wins are created equal. To me, a bad loss is there such thing as a bad loss or a good loss?
I don't think so. I do think people are going to look at a blowout a little bit different than they are a close game, but you still lost. The goal is to win the game. You did.
But it's about who? It's against who?
Against who?
I mean, like, is NIU a worse loss than losing to Mississippi State? Because you lose to Mississippi State, I don't think people are going to lose their mind as bad as you lose to NIU.
I think that depends on where you live.
Well, all right, then had Notre Dame lost to,
people nationally would look at Mississippi State and see the record, see one win, and say that's a really bad loss. And they'll look at the Northern Illinois loss and say, well, they're still 4-4. You know, coaching staff been there a while.
I don't know.
People here will say Mississippi State, that's still an SEC team. They have SEC talent, even though they're not a good team. I think that would change a little bit depending on where you are. But I think also too, like, how'd you play in the, like, what were the circumstances of the game? You go to Alabama and Vanderbilt. Okay, dominated time of possession, convert all their third downs. Not that Alabama had nothing to do with that, but I do think some losses are circumstantial, and it's okay to weigh them that way. I don't think I never think you just excuse a loss, though.
No.
I don't care if you throw 11 interceptions. Like, you still went out and threw the interceptions. That's on you.
I don't think anyone would ever excuse a loss. I mean, losing is losing.
Who try.
Where? How? Not
yet.
Playoff.
Not yet this year, but it's coming. It'll happen. They'll say body clock or quarterback injured, or, I mean, we've heard it. We've heard all the excuses. People definitely try to excuse losses before. Oh, that was their third game in a row against top 25 opponent. That was just, you can't ask anybody to do that.
Yeah, in the 14 playoff, it matters to make excuses on behalf of losses. Not anymore, though. I mean, now you can lose a couple times. But my thing is like, oh, that's a bad loss. Like, that wipes out anything good they've done. Like the Bama Vanderbilt thing. Like, people have been saying, oh, you can't put a team in that loses to Vanderbilt. Okay, Vanderbilt's 5-3. Like, Vanderbilt's not that bad, first and foremost. Secondly, well, what about, didn't they beat Georgia? I mean, you can't put in a team that lost to NIU. You just can't. That's just not going to happen. It's a non-starter. I get that, but they won the rest of their games. They're 11-1. They beat SC. They beat A&M. A&M is a contender in the SEC championship. Like, I mean, the A&M game didn't happen because they lost to NIU. I guess that's my whole thing. I've just never understood that logic.
A couple folks tweeting into the show. Eddie tweets in, Clemson loses to South Carolina but beats Miami in ACC championship game. What happens to Miami? If Miami is
at 12-1,
if that's their only loss, they're way in.
Yep, and that's the type of, that's what I'm trying to prepare everybody for. Because you can look at Miami and think, man, that's a flawed football team. That is a flawed football team.
There are portions of it that are just sloppy.
There's no doubt.
That's the only way to say it.
But if you think a Miami team that in their 12 data points in the regular season are all victory, if you think they're going to be left out in favor of a 2-loss team from the SEC that also has 12 data points, I think you're crazy. Miami could lose one in the regular season, lose in the ACC championship, and then I still think there's a conversation that the committee will have.
They'll have a win against Florida, which we'll see. Florida is above 500 right now. How that one looks by the end of the year. Virginia Tech could be a pretty good win. Louisville could be a pretty good win. Duke could actually be a pretty good win.
Their best wins right now are against Virginia Tech and Louisville. Both are 5-3.
They'll get Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake at Syracuse, most likely ACC championship game.
Yes, they are a lock to get to the ACC championship game at this point.
So
pretty much.
Michael tweets in, you've said Notre Dame isn't good 3 times. You know what that means? The crazy Notre Dame fan will call in explaining how Notre Dame created the world in cold weather. I don't think we've said that they aren't good. Matter of fact, I feel like Greg said the opposite of that he feels like they're super solid right now.
I really like them.
Defensively and maybe physically with what they offer. I don't think we've said that they're just not good.
No one would expect anyone to actually listen.
All right, tell our listeners about the Pants Store. Maybe they'll listen to that.
Well, the Pants Store is your game day headquarters. There's so many different things that they have for you. And as the weather is cooling off, you might need some layers, might need some long sleeves, might need some jackets, some pullovers, some quarter zips. They have them there for you. And they always have the best brands so that you can go and get outfitted for game day. By Legend, Horn Legend, Cutter and Buck, Antigua, Gentile. Nobody does game day apparel quite like the Pants Store. And ladies, they have stuff for you as well. Head to toe stuff, boots, Hoka's, New Balance. Need a romper, a perfect dress? Pants Store has you covered. They also have those clear purses so you can dance right through security, as cute as can be. Free alterations and gift wrap is also available. So zip on down to the Pants Store for all your game day needs.
I just want to say thank you to the Pants Store for having Greg say cute during his read on the show.
It's in there.
We're appreciative of that. And we will talk more college football playoff next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Jack Tuttle, Michigan quarterback, going to retire from college football. He will shut it down. Also, Rice fires head coach Mike Bloomgren. He was 2-6, 24-52 all time. Pete Almer's going to take over as the interim. UCF has fired Ted Roof as their defensive coordinator. And Iowa has Brendan Sullivan listed as QB1. GMAC.
Yes, Cade McNamara. Not listed.
Not listed. Not found anywhere on depth chart.
Hurt.
Steelers took out the Giants 26-18 last night. They get to 6-2. Giants go to 2-6. Dodgers took out the Yankees 4-2. They lead the series 3-0. That should be over tonight.
Ooh.
What?
Bye, Judge.
7:08 on Fox. Game 4, first pitch. Dodgers at Yankees. You will see the Dodgers go for the sweep tonight. They have not announced who's going to be on the mound.
Bullpen game.
And also tonight, college football. CBS Sports Network. You get 2-5 New Mexico State at Pitbull Stadium. 2-6 FIU is. 6:30 p.m. tonight, ESPN 2. 6-1 Cajuns. Nobody talking about it.
Quietly.
No one's saying a word about the Cajuns. They will rage tonight at Texas State, who's 4-3 on the season. ESPN 2, 6:30, 7 o'clock tonight. ESPN U, 3-4 La Tech against 6-2 Sam Houston State. So tonight will be an early pajama night. Get ready, watch about a quarter of football, and then get in bed. Not for me, but
what about baseball?
The boys. I wouldn't put them through that.
Come
on. Judge is probably going to want to watch a little Shohei. Might be his last chance to watch him for a while. So yeah, we'll watch a couple at bats. We'll watch a little football too.
Yeah,
Locke will want to watch football.
We were all in. Vince like, wake me up when the game goes final. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna do that. So I told him this morning before I left the house, and he was all jacked up. He goes, "What was the score?" I was like, 4-2. He goes, "Yes, that was awesome." I'm like, "Yeah, super cool." I do think I'm gonna wake him up for the ninth inning tonight, though, if we do get it, because I went my whole life without seeing my team win a real championship. And as much as COVID was fun and I celebrated the night that they won it during COVID, it wasn't a real championship.
You realize what a bad idea that is, right?
Why?
To wake your 6-year-old up at 11:30 and watch
he needs
guys
to
celebrate and then try to go back to sleep?
He needs to experience it. Like, there'll be many nights where you get a full night's sleep.
This is what we have that we didn't have when you were a child. Record, pause, when he wakes up in morning, have ready, push play, experience with pancakes.
Yeah, but he's going to know.
There you go.
He's going to know.
How's he going to know?
Because
has he got Twitter in his room?
Why would we watch it? Why would we watch it?
How's he going to know?
He
has no idea. It went extra. Tell him it went long. It just finished. Here it is.
It got too late. They had to pause it. They were retired.
Right here. I got it. I saved it for you. Hurry. It's a commercial. And then they come back for the last out. You got it.
It's not a terrible idea. I think I'll probably still wake him up.
It's the idea. Don't do that to all those teachers the next day.
I'll probably still wake him up. Sorry, Miss Mitchell.
Terrible idea.
He's going to be juiced up.
All right. Your CBD store can get you juiced up every day. If you need products to help you focus better throughout the course of your day, better night's sleep, they can help with that. Weight loss, the Trim by SunMed, in stock now at your CBD store, largest brick and mortar CBD retailer on planet Earth. First company to have USDA certified organic oil supplements. They've got the stamp seal on those products. If you need products for gut health, or maybe your pet does, your pet has arthritis, you have arthritis, they have products that can help you out today. Make your life better. Your CBD store, where good health hits home. Check out one of their 3 locations, Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cage in Cleaver, Trustful just off 459, and tell them you heard about them right here on Mac and Cube. Top 3 next on WJOX. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. 7:48 a.m. Tuesday, October 29th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Going to move on to the top three here in just a moment. If you're looking to move into a new home, though, Greg, who should you call?
The Big Crocker Moving Search, our local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys, and you can trust them in your home. Whether you need your whole home packed to move, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want to come rearrange a living room, these guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you purchase need to get to your home. So call visit them online today for a free quote. The website is crockermovingservices.com. It's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
All right, top three for today, Damian. What do we have on tap?
So we had a conversation this morning on Morning Jocks about the best players in the SEC right now. So I want to get y'all's reaction. Who are the three best players so far in the SEC?
I do think that this has changed as the season has progressed.
I got to get my PFF grades out. Hang on.
Don't do that
Give
to
me a
me.
second.
We just talked about it
Oh, boy.
during the
Let me
break.
get them out. Give me just a minute.
Do not do that.
Gosh, you guys are so cranky.
That's what's going to sway your decision.
Y'all are going to hate my list.
Oh, you Tyler Booker.
Right.
He is number one.
The guard at Kentucky.
No.
Guard at Florida.
I'm struggling with. Actually, I just feel like I need to probably give you like a grouping of players.
Oh gosh. Will
Like if
Campbell.
we went
The
the last 3 weeks, Braden Swenson's on that list.
Yeah, he's a dude.
He needs to be there.
Better than Whit Weeks? It's close.
He bumped ahead of Whit Weeks this past year. Whit Weeks needs to be in that discussion. I would probably
Diego
go.
Pavia.
He learned the conversation.
Cole's got too many favorites. That's his problem.
Here.
You need to start
I'm
hating
gonna,
guys.
Kentucky and Vanderbilt.
This guy can't cover.
I'm gonna go here, and these are gonna be my three, and I'm just gonna stay there. Tyler Booker, Nick Scorton, Anthony Hill Jr. are gonna be my three.
Okay, not bad.
Gregor?
Dude, Whit Weeks has 9.5 sacks.
Whit Weeks, I feel like I could be wrong on this. I'm just giving you my personal perception is that a lot of that was done in a 2-game stretch.
Okay, well, that's a lot still. I'm going to
Okay, I
go
could
with,
go with Kyle Kennard's 2-game
I'm about
stretch
to
he had
go-
earlier this year and put him at the top.
I'm about to go groupings because I don't do individuals. One, why? Because it's a team game. We don't do
There we go.
freaking individuals.
Okay.
All right, this is not the draft. All right, I'll take the 2 edge rushers at LSU, Swinson and Savion Jones, and I'm gonna put Whit Weeks in that trifecta. So LSU's pass rush.
Okay.
I'm gonna put South Carolina's pass rush, Dylan Stewart and
He's
Kyle
taking whole
Kennard.
position
Yeah,
groups.
right.
Pretty much.
I'm
right,
sorry.
yeah.
Units.
I'm sorry. The top 3. I'm gonna make a mockery of the top 3.
Also,
which
the
is
walk-on
in fact
kid
a
in the back
mockery.
right of the room that got to play against South Alabama, he's in there.
Correct. And his name's Cole Hammer.
That's actually a good name for
It's
DN.
a great German walk-on name. All right, so yeah, I'll take the 2 DNs at LSU, the 2 DNs at South Carolina, and the 2 DNs at basically the whole defensive line at A&M.
Yeah, because Shamar still deserves to be in there. He
Yes.
doesn't have the stats, but he has affected things in a much greater rate than people believe.
Because those, you really look at it, like the defensive line groups. I mean, those are the best. That's the best available right now in the SEC. Like if you look at the wide receiver groups across the board, compared to what we've seen in the SEC in the past, they're all right.
It's
They're not bad.
It's not what it's been.
Running back rooms, I mean, it's fine. A bunch of solid players.
Trey Harris probably deserves to be in the
Yeah,
conversation.
he's
fine.
missed a couple games.
Yeah, and
Let's
look who
do
he
it.
played early.
Yeah, I mean, I can stat pad. I would have gone for a $117 against whoever they played.
Wake Forest.
Wake. Just throw me a back shoulder and a hitch. I can make a guy miss.
All right, so Whit Weeks had a sack and a half in the South Alabama Ole Miss stretch. He has 2.5 on the season. He had 4.5 TFLs in those 2 games. He has 7 on the season.
I got him at 9.5 sacks right here. What the heck? What does that say? Why is he up there? 2.5. That's weird. On his thing, it says 9.5.
No,
Look.
it's 2.5.
9.5.
That was
sacks.
actually well. They put I think 7 in the box score for the last game against A&M. So it was a mistake.
I was gonna say.
I watched the tape. He didn't have 7.
I was gonna say. That was my initial reaction. Like he's got 9.5 sacks. I was like, golly, I didn't feel like that.
Yeah, so I would. That's where I would go.
John?
Number 1 for me is Kyle Kennard. I mean,
He's been really good.
you
Him or Dylan Stewart?
it was on display in Alabama,
Kennard's
but
been
throughout
more
the
consistent.
season, yeah.
You talk to people that played against him though, and OCs that prepared against him. They say that Stewart's better, which I was like, I don't know. To me, it's closer.
Yeah, he's twitchier, he's faster, he's more athletic, but Kennard has more production.
Might be a prisoner of the moment because he got a quarter of his total season this past week, but I'll give it Jarquez Hunter, number 2. He slightly edges out Dylan Sampson. I do think Sampson has been more integral to
Samson's a
his
good
team,
one. Samson
but-
deserves to be in that conversation.
Right, yeah. And number 3, because of what he's done all year and the last game and not have looked the greatest, but still going to give it to Diego Pavia. He has looked really good.
What about Ryan Williams?
You got to be at least 18 to be on the list.
Heard that.
Can't get in the club.
He's been good.
The receivers are just not as good as they were.
We all know who leads the SEC in receiving yards, right? It's
Yes,
pretty easy.
Trey Harris.
Correct.
Do you know
correct,
who's second?
Is it Keandre Lambert-Smith?
Nope.
Kyron Lacy?
No.
Nope.
Nah.
It's a hog.
Anderson?
Andrew Armstrong. 722 yards, 1 receiving touchdown.
Ugh.
Can't get in the paint.
Ugh. Just one?
It's like they're running back from Varsity Blues.
Dang.
Keandre Lambert-Smith, Ryan Williams tied for most receiving touchdowns in the SEC so far this year with 7 each. It's just the receivers haven't been what we thought they were going to be.
Nah.
And then you go back to quarterback play. Go look at SEC quarterback play in conference play.
Just good defenses.
You want to know Carson Beck's conference numbers this year? 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
Whoa.
Against who?
Conference teams.
SEC.
SEC teams, actually.
Against nobody.
He's completed 64% of his passes, 1,473 yards, 8 touchdowns, 8 picks. Nussmeier in conference play, 7 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Milrow, 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Taylor Green, 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Quinn Ewers, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
Ooh.
Hey, Peyton Thorne, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Conference
Best-
play.
Hanging
Best
in the
player
loop.
in the league.
Hang the banner.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Every week at this time, the voice of the Auburn Tigers, Andy Burcham, joins us. Before we do that, go back and hear Hugh Freeze talk about yesterday why he thought the run game worked for the Auburn Tigers against the Wildcats.
Well, the plan was really good, and then our kids executed it. And we've got really good running backs, but our O-line really played one of their better games. We showed a few different things, but when it came down to it, truthfully, it wasn't like it was extremely fancy runs. It was mostly inside zones that we just blocked up really well, and then our guys made the first guy miss and created some explosive runs. So, but it starts up front. The tight ends blocked one of their better games for sure, and our running backs, ran it really, really well. Peyton, when we called upon him to run it, had some nice runs too to kind of get a few first downs here and there.
Well, as I stated yesterday, Greg, too, they did, even though it was just inside zone, they changed up some of the blocking schemes on a few of those and altered it so you would have different looks to keep that defense off balance. And I do think that made a little bit of a difference. Andy Burcham was there for it, on the call for the Auburn Network. He joins us now on the Buyers Right Hotline, thanks to our friends at Craneworks.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah! The big dog's got it.
The voice of the Auburn Tigers, Andy Burcham, on Mac and Cube in the morning is brought to you by Craneworks. Lifted, buy and rented, the big dog's got it. Now, Andy Burcham.
Andy, I know it was a little bit odd how the game approached with Coach Freeze not there on Friday, getting in on Saturday, and a little bit of a later game as well. What was the feel, the vibe that you got as kickoff approached there? Did you have any idea that the offensive explosion was going to be what it was?
Not to that degree, no. And we just haven't seen that from this Auburn team really since game one, and obviously that was a much different opponent than Kentucky. For Auburn, but it was, I've been around this ball club and was on the flight with the team getting to Kentucky. It is a long day, as you guys know, to wait around and get ready for that nighttime game, and just the opposite of the previous week when Auburn played the early game. But this ball club, and Coach mentioned it last night on Tiger Talk, this team hasn't given up. This team's effort is still there. Its spirit is still, and even after the start to the game for Auburn. I mean, Auburn gets flagged for a penalty on the opening kickoff and goes 3 and out, and then Kentucky drives and scores. And as Coach mentioned last night, it'd be real easy for this Auburn team to go, well, here we go again. But that wasn't the case, and it falls behind 10-0. And comes back and ties the game, has a chance to take the lead at halftime, doesn't in frustrating fashion, and then really responds in the second half. And Auburn takes the opening, well, Auburn didn't take the opening kickoff in the first half. It takes the opening kickoff in the second half and drives the length of the field and punches it in. And to me, that was the big drive of the ball game for Auburn. Even as frustrating as the way the first half ended, to watch that team come out of the locker room at halftime, great Auburn crowd there, by the way. There was a ton of Auburn people in Lexington. We had folks that commented to us when we were out to dinner on Friday night and at brunch on Saturday morning at Carson's, by the way, which is legit. If you guys haven't been, that's a terrific place in downtown Lexington. But just folks commented how many Auburn people were there. A lot of folks made a big weekend of it. And then, boy, that Auburn team certainly responded in the second half. And in the second half, it was pounded. Man, they just pounded that run game the whole time. And Jarquez Hunter had a record-setting second half on Saturday.
What do you think was the genesis of the run game getting going the way it went? I know they had a couple big plays. I know they still doing a lot of the same RPO stuff that they've always done. For whatever reason, Kentucky just didn't really attribute a lot of guys to the box. I still don't really understand why. But it took off in a big way. Is this something that can be built on?
I think it's certainly something that can be built on. I think something that could be built on this week. against Vanderbilt, because to me, this game this Saturday is all about ball control and time of possession. And we know that this Vandy team with Diego Pavia at quarterback and with Jerry Kill calling this offense, it's exactly what they did at New Mexico State a year ago to Auburn. I mean, they took the air out of the ball. They just didn't give Auburn many opportunities. They didn't give Alabama many opportunities. They didn't give Texas many opportunities, and Texas ends up winning, last week. And Vandy comes back and has a chance, and that's what they'll try to do this week. And I think that can be one of Auburn's counters this week. I mean, Auburn won the time of possession war last week. Its drives were long. It took time off the clock. They were productive. And Auburn did what it has been unable to do all season, in the fact that in a close game, it closed the game out. It took control of the game in the second half. It did not give Kentucky. Kentucky had one drive in the second half, and it stalled basically at the one on a great goal line stand by Auburn that turned out to be the Kay and Lee interception. And I think that if Auburn's able to do that this week against Vanderbilt, and that's a big if, because this is a good Vandy team, as we know, and Vandy's going to try and do the exact same thing coming in here. If Auburn's able to control the ball, control the clock, that's a big if. I think Auburn wins this game this Saturday.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that kind of a game.
You got to be able to control the clock.
You got to be careful with that kind of a game, Andy, because I mean Vanderbilt's going to want to play that kind of game too, and then all of a sudden you're looking at 7-8 possessions each. I guess my thought there is, you control the clock, but if you're going to play that game, the defense they better show up, because you don't want to get to a 14-13 game with 3 minutes left, and all of a sudden Diego Pavia's got the ball.
I agree, but that's the game they're going to play coming in here, regardless of what Auburn does offensively. We know that
that's fair.
That's the game plan for Vanderbilt coming in here on Saturday. I don't think Auburn just solely runs the football, but I think you've got to have that in mind. That's what New Mexico State did against Auburn a year ago, and Auburn's game plan did not work that day from an offensive or defensive standpoint. So anyway, that's my thought. I'm not speaking for the head coach there, obviously.
No, I think you're spot on, and I think I was interested to get your thoughts too, just what you've heard, who you've talked to, sort of about what Hugh Freeze said, and I feel this way also. It feels like the offensive line is now intact. Dylan Wade had a couple letdowns in pass protection, but he's not a liability by any stretch of the imagination at tackle. He understands the position. He gets it. You talked about Braden Joyner a couple of weeks ago. He's been a better option at guard. Center and right guard have been fine all year. You've got too tall back at right tackle. It feels like if they can keep this group intact moving forward, that might be what they can build upon more than anything else the rest of the season.
I agree with that. And a lot of those guys, you're not only building for the rest of the season, you're building for next season as well. Because other than Too Tall Miller, everybody else on that offensive line, including Jeremiah Wright, who's the junior, but everybody else, you got guys coming back. So I think this is the offensive line, at least for the rest of this season for Auburn. That's the best Auburn's offensive line has looked this season against a Power 4 team. And they've got another one coming in here on Saturday. And listen, Vanderbilt is a legit ball club coming in. Their numbers are not they don't just wow you with their explosive numbers, but they're controlling the clock, 32 minutes a game plus, as far as time of possession is concerned. And Diego Pavia is a difference maker for Vanderbilt. Over 2,000 yards total offense and 17 touchdowns. And he's the leading passer on the team, obviously. He's the leading runner on this team as well. And you look at him and you say, how in the world does he do it? But he just does. The guy's a winner. And Auburn saw it last year here when he was with New Mexico State. And the rest of the country has seen what he can do all this season against the big boys. And you just have to be – I'm impressed with Diego Pavia. I think Vanderbilt is one of these stories in the SEC this year.
Is there any reason to have heightened concerns given the way New Mexico State has played against Hugh Freeze coach teams the last couple of years, or are those not applicable to this one?
I think it's applicable. I mean, I think you have to say that considering what they did, just with what that team did to Auburn a year ago, and the fact that it's Diego Pavia and and Jerry Kill, and then Eli Stowers, their tight end, who is a transfer from New Mexico State, who is also their leading pass catcher. And then, of course, Clark Lee has taken over the defense again, and that team had that side of the ball has responded as well. One of the things that Hugh Freeze is impressed with is they don't make mistakes defensively. They're in the right spot. So, yeah, I think it can be applicable. I don't know how you can – I don't think you can ignore what New Mexico State did in here last year and the fact that you've got the head coach from that team, quarterback from that team, and the tight end from that team that are playing a major role for Vanderbilt this year. I think it's a big factor. Sure.
There's no doubt because Diego can run it, manipulate it, operate it as well as anybody. And it's why I was talking to Mark Stoops on the field before the game, and he was, man, that quarterback's just good. Like he's so dangerous. And I was like, Coach, we forget a guy's been running offense for 4.5 years. It's just it makes a massive difference when you have that kind of experience doing the same things and understanding how it works and how it operates, and put a couple pieces that are better than what you had before, and all of a sudden it can go. Defensively, though, this team continues to sort of step up, and there are a couple of new faces that seem to shine each and every week. Was there anything different that stood out for you with DJ Durkin's defense against Kentucky?
From a scheme standpoint, Cole, I couldn't put my finger on it. It was Hugh Freeze talked about that goal line stand, and that was one of the big factors, especially in the second half, because it was the one sustained drive for Kentucky. And Auburn's up 2 scores at this point. And with the backup quarterback playing the entire second half for Kentucky, they make that drive and they get to the one. They have a chance to make it a 1-score game. And if it gets to a 1-score game, then it's hard not to say, oh, man, here we go again, right? And when they got to that goal line stand, Auburn had, I think, 6 freshmen on the field on 1st and goal from the 2, and 2nd and goal from the 2, and 3rd and goal, and 4th and goal from the 1. There were freshmen all over that field for Auburn. Jake Crawford had his best game for Auburn, including his first career interception, and is named the National Freshman of the Week. Keldrick Falk is the SEC co-defensive lineman of the week. Another dual sack game for that sophomore. But guys like DeMarcus Riddick and Caleb Harris and DJ Barber and Kieran Crawford, as he's not a freshman, but young guys for this Auburn team. But that was the most impressive thing to me for Auburn. And then, of course, Kayan Lee, who's just a sophomore, comes up with the big pick and almost took it the distance if he doesn't step out of bounds.
Andy, we always appreciate the time. Always great stuff visiting with you. I know that was a fun trip to Lexington. And we know each and every week you're brought to us by our friends at CraneWorks.
CraneWorks, the most trusted name for crane and equipment rental in the Southeast for over 30 years. They have a fleet of cranes ranging from 2.5 tons to 500 tons. CraneWorks also offers trained and certified operators and riggers to make sure the job is done right. Located in Birmingham, Nashville, Mobile, and now Huntsville. Visit CraneWorks.com for info. Well, I'm finally home after a month on the road. Where's everybody else this week?
Greg, you're in Columbia?
I'm in Columbia, South Carolina.
South Carolina. I'll be in Knoxville, Tennessee.
I hope both of you have safe trips and great calls this week, gentlemen.
Thank you, Andy.
Buddy, you too.
Always appreciate the visit.
My pleasure. We'll be on the air at 8:30 on Jocks this weekend. Looking forward to the call this week and looking forward to be back at home.
Coffee with Bertram on the Auburn Network. There you go.
That's it. That's exactly right.
Thanks, Andy. We'll catch up next week. Andy Bertram of the Auburn Network joins us on the Buyers Right Hotline. Thanks to CraneWorks each and every week. Okay, so can Auburn build on what they showed, what they did? We'll hear from Hugh Freeze again, hear from Kalen DeBoer next on Mac and Cube in the morning. We were talking SEC quarterbacks in conference play a little bit earlier, Greg. SEC quarterbacks without an interception in conference play, minimum 30 attempts. You want to take a guess at any of those? Can you get any? There are 3.
Minimum 30 attempts.
No interceptions in conference play.
Yes. I'll try. Van Buren.
No.
Ooh, close.
I think he had 2 this weekend.
Oh, correct. Right.
Didn't watch. Lenore Sellers.
No. Definitely had 1 against Bama.
I don't remember.
Didn't he have 1 against Alabama?
I don't remember. Nico.
No. Sellers did have a pick against Alabama and Kentucky and LSU and Ole Miss.
Called the Kentucky game. Watched the Bama game probably 4 times.
Brady Cook, Marcel Reed, Arch Manning.
Arch didn't throw a pick against Mississippi State? Thought he did. I believe you.
I have him down as no interceptions in conference play.
That's good that's good by me. I don't care. I just thought he did. But maybe it was against ULM.
I think it was actually. Yeah. Thinking back on it. But the quarterback play in conference play has not been.
Not where you want it?
It's not been great.
No.
I don't know what that means. Does that mean the defenses are better? Does that mean that the receivers are not what we thought they were going to be? I mean, what does it mean?
I think that it means that this is a group and this is a quarterback class in general that's just not very good. I mean, let's just be real.
Arch threw 2 against Monroe. His only 2 of the year.
Who do you think right now, like if you had to pick the first overall pick in the NFL draft, who you taking for quarterback?
PFF told us Connor Wigman, didn't he? Didn't they?
I
And
don't
our
know
board
if- was
Tampa
it-
Bay
I don't
Trey
know if
tell
it
us.
was-
There's actually 1 guy there. Yeah.
But
I won't even put that on the whole faction,
Just him.
even though they deserve it. I am out on PFF right now, man. I just we're not going to do it here on this
I
platform.
don't know how you get
but
the grades. How do you get the grades?
people write articles about them, Greg.
Oh,
We're not getting into it. I almost took a turn and did it. I'm not going to do it today. We're not doing that. No. Mm-mm. If you had to take, are you talking about SEC quarterback or nationally? Who am I taking?
nationally.
I want to say Cam Ward, but I just the delivery and the ad lib. I just don't know if that's.
Can he live in structure? I don't know if he can.
Yeah,
So
it
the
bothers
answer
me.
is no. Shador Sanders is the answer.
He's the
but
one
it's
playing the
not,
best football. I feel like.
But it's not. It's not like he's a bona fide. I mean, who's he playing against?
Against who?
I mean, something to be honest about.
Quarterbacks playing the best football.
He didn't do very well against the one defense he played with a pulse, and that was Nebraska.
Is Dylan Gabriel playing the best football of any quarterback in the nation right now?
No, Curtis Rourke is, but Curtis Rourke's not going to get the credit that he deserves at Indiana.
Curtis Rourke is completing 75% of his passes for 1,941 yards, 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
He's playing the best football, but nobody cares.
Does he push the ball down the field at a regular rate? I feel like there's a lot of higher percentage throws there.
A lot of high percentage throws, but they're also he's the modicum of efficiency. And when he does push it downfield, it's for a reason. It's not like, hey, coach told me to throw it downfield. I'm going to throw it downfield right now.
You brought it up a little bit earlier. Here he comes from the back of the pack, creeping up. Cade Klubnik, 67%, 1,836 yards, 20 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Nobody's saying a word about him. Not a word.
Not a word. But he's played great. Not as well as Curtis Rourke, but he's played great down the stretch.
Let's stay in conference right now. If I gave you one game to win tomorrow, what quarterback you taking?
Diego Pavia.
Okay.
I'm dead serious. You think I'm kidding?
My favorite part about our meeting with Diego this past weekend, we were sitting there, and towards the end, Alyssa asked him something like, hey, when you guys do face adversity and things aren't going well, what do you say? He's like, at the end of the day, I look at my teammates and I say, you know what? You got me.
Is this Diego or Jameis?
Diego. Jameis would have been more poetic with that.
That's true.
Like he would said, "It's been so empty without me."
There was a guy in 1995 that's saying, "You got a friend in me."
There is no controversy because it would be so empty without me. Guess what? You got me.
Who's doing more? Like, I think Nussmeier would be in the mix. There, I know you hate him after the most. Like, you have recency bias right now.
The turnover gene.
Greg, go watch the Arkansas game again. They dropped 3 interceptions in that game.
I understand.
And I'm
that.
not talking dove and tipped 3 balls down. I'm talking in the breastplate of their shoulder pads, hit them in the numbers.
I get that, but the guy's still got stones, and in a big game, I need stones. I don't need someone that's going to wilt.
That's an interesting thought because, like, Diego's got stones, but I also saw him take the Gilbert Arenas fadeaway 3 on 4th down.
He did. That's right.
Led to an interception. Just terrible idea.
To the right. Yeah, I know.
You're not getting a ton of balance with him, I don't feel like as far as drop back pass game.
If I got to win one, if I got 1 game season, I got to win one. Who are you taking? Marcel Reed?
I don't know. I might take Taylor Green and just hope for the best.
Yeah, but you got some of the
He's
up and
going to throw
down
it to the other team.
You got some of the up and down there. Jalen Milroe the last 2 weeks is at 19% off target.
He's just going to miss.
Can't take him. The good news is the misses are so bad that nobody else can catch him.
Fair enough.
So if you're looking for risk averse, it's not a bad place to live. I would feel better about Jalen if I felt like he was running with the same level of intensity that we saw from him earlier in the season.
What about Quinn Ewers?
No.
Carson Beck?
Nope.
Carson Beck for a half. Yes. Full game.
Full
no.
Full 4.
He's going to either get me in position to not be able to come back and win, or he's going to pull me back and win.
What about Jackson Arnold?
I will say this.
No one's talking about Jackson Dart anymore. That was your boy. He's your favorite player of all time.
I think Jackson Dart may be playing the best football of any quarterback in the league right now.
Oh, gosh.
15 touchdowns, 3
You and
interceptions.
I just don't see it differently. You see it differently. That's fine.
He gets pummeled every game.
He plays slow. You cannot play the game slow.
How does he have 173 completions if he plays slow? Tell me that.
Because look at all the free access throws he gets. Think about how many of those.
That's not his fault.
I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at him for that. Why is he a step late? Why is he late on 3/4 of his throws that are down the field? And why is he just feel like he plays slow? Everything is slow.
Well, he lacks twitch. So
I
he's
need
kind of
twitch.
a slow moving guy.
I'm sorry. Twitch is part of the job description.
Okay, well then you can have Marcel Reed and Robbie Ashford.
I don't need those skills.
Red Zone Robbie.
I don't necessarily need Robbie Ashford, but I need more twitch than I'm getting from Jackson Dart. When you play against top quality competition, guess what? When guys are open, you better cut it loose before they get open. He doesn't anticipate throws. And he also doesn't, look at the LSU game, count how many times he was late.
I don't think he could get to the back of his drop, which is usually a 1-step drop, and not get hit in that game. So
I'm not saying he doesn't take a lot of hits.
I mean, here I am excusing quarterbacks for getting their face mask dented when they're trying to play teams.
Are you really excusing quarterbacks, or are you really just killing O-linemen? Because I think you're kind of killing O-linemen by saying that.
Well,
I mean, those two go together with that team, I feel like. So
I think Jackson Dart's a fine college player. I just don't think he's I don't think he's the best player in the SEC.
Who do you guys think has more interceptions than any other quarterback in the SEC? I'm not talking about conference play. I'm just talking in general.
Carson Beck?
No.
That's mine.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It can't be him. He has thrown the ball to the other team, and they have received it more times than any other guy in the league. It cannot be him.
How many attempts?
333.
There's a bunch.
Okay, let's see how that stacks up against other teams.
Well, Carson Beck has 1 fewer on 250 attempts, so he might be the guy to not take.
On how many fewer attempts?
He has 250.
Jalen Milroe has 130 less attempts.
He's only thrown
and
6.
has 6.
3 fewer.
So, I mean, if we're looking at it by interception rate, because that factors in attempts, then that's something worth.
I can't do that math. Damien, you get
I'll
one
pull it up
quarterback
for
in
you
the
right now.
SEC to win a game. Who are you taking right now? You don't get to talk about scheme or system or players around or any of that stuff. You just get we're drawing teams, and you get to pick quarterback first. Who are you taking? One game. Your life depends on it.
I'm taking Jackson Dart.
John?
Wrong.
My life depends on it.
Greg says you're dead.
Yep. Damien's dead. One down.
But he's going to bring the guy in there who's going to throw the ball to the other team the whole
At
game.
least he gives me a chance.
Good luck living.
I'd rather die in a blaze of glory than
You
die
will.
by 1,000 paper
You
cuts.
will. You know what blaze of glory you're going to die in? Chasing down the defenders with the football.
Are they?
Hey, look at the sack percentage, by the way. Nussmeier gets sacked 1% of the time. That means he gets the ball out. Action.
Yeah, to the other.
It's actually good. He does.
He gets it out, but
Doesn't matter. Get the ball out.
don't know where it's gonna land.
Am I assuming current health or all-time health?
Ah,
'Cause I might lean Brady Cook.
Oh, God.
okay.
We're not gonna score.
You're out.
We're not gonna score.
Garrett
If he's
Nussmeier.
100% healthy.
Garrett Nussmeier is 6th in interception percentage, for the record, by the way, in the SEC.
Who's first?
Brady Cook. You want him?
No, he's got one interception.
There you go. Brady Cook. You can have Brady Cook.
Hold on.
This is
Brady
Mr.
Cook
I'm not throwing
leads
the ball to the other
league.
team.
Brady Cook leads the league in interception rate.
Yeah,
he has one pick.
He has the lowest.
Oh, no. Who has the worst? I'm saying.
Oh, that'd be Peyton Thorne
Mm.
at
No.
3.8.
Of the quarterbacks we're talking about.
Carson Beck is the worst. Quinn Ewers is second worst. Jalen Milrose third worst.
I feel like 5 of Quinn Ewers' 6 interceptions have been on tip balls.
3 out of 6.
Does that keep that in there?
So we don't count tips now because you throw it sidearm?
He hates everybody.
I don't hate everybody. I just am not sitting here like I think Quinn Ewers. God's honest truth. You want on you just bona fide skill set. If I could have anybody from a skill set standpoint to go win a game, like and it does. You throw production out the window. You tell me, hey, all right, you get to put an offense together for this guy, and you can go win. Give me Taylor Green.
Yeah, it's Taylor or Jalen.
Like if you want
What
like
about Lagway?
Too young.
You said just skill set, not age.
Well, today if
Just
my life
skills.
depends on it.
Yeah, but
Okay,
If
but
my
I'm
life
just saying,
depends on
the
it, I'm
skills-
not taking the true freshman.
Okay, but the skills you have seen. What about Lenore Sellers? Skill set. We're just talking skill set.
I need to see more from him in the passing game.
It's fair though. I think Taylor Green, Jalen Milroe. If you're just taking skill set, it's got to be one of those two. Absolutely.
It would be. If I could get a confident Jalen Milroe, then I'd feel great about it. But he's among the highest in the SEC in off-target percentage right now. So I need to know I'm going to get a confident Jalen Milroe.
If I could take away like the magician plays from Taylor Green, like when he actually thinks he's a magician and can throw the ball through people and like all the way back across the field, I think he'd be great.
You know who has
I
the
just need to get rid
lowest?
of a couple of those.
You know who has the lowest off-target percentage in the SEC?
I'm going to go with it's going to be Peyton Thorne.
Nope. He's second.
Graham Mertz.
Graham Mertz not listed.
Graham Mertz is the guy we need to be talking about.
Not qualified.
Okay, 94 attempts.
Diego Pavia has the lowest off-target percentage by a decent margin. He's at 6.2%. Do you also want to know how many?
Subtract sprint outs, and I need to know how many completions he has.
I don't know.
I don't hate the guy. I'm not against. I love his mentality. I do feel like from a gamer perspective, kind of what you were saying. Like if your life depended on it, I probably want that guy on my side because like he's literally going to.
He'll
if
die.
his leg
He'll
gets
die on the
sawed
field.
off, like he's gonna try to get out there and play.
He's
Doesn't
also
care.
got a 4.5 to 1 touchdown interception ratio. He also is under pressure 44% of his dropbacks, which is the second highest in the SEC behind Lenore Sellers. He also, the guy's just a bona fide dude. He's just a straight dude, which I just don't. I mean, the guy doesn't care.
He does not.
5%
just
sack rate.
Don't get down by 10 points in the second half. Then you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't plan on it because I'm a dang good coach, and I'm going to score more points in the second half.
Oh, that makes you elite.
That does mean you're a good coach.
Let's look up air yards per attempt. Now I'm curious about that. Let's see where Diego lists there. Let's take a peek. Diego is towards the bottom in air yards, but still ahead of Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers, 5.41 air yards per attempt.
Now listen, There's no way I would sit here and make an argument that Quinn Ewers is doing more down the field than anybody else, because we talked about it on Read and React last night, how the quick throws that they live and die by, if they play against a team that can tackle just fairly well, Georgia tackles really well, and that's what they did. They tackled their one-on-ones in space, and they made them play a different game, and they weren't good at it. So if you can do that to Texas, then you're going to cause problems for them. So I'm with you on that. I mean, the quick, easy access throws, like those they live and die by them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's an extension of the run game, and it's great, but I would like to see them challenge teams down the field a little bit more.
Guess who has the highest EPA in the SEC at quarterback?
You talking about like plastic bottles that'll poison you? Is that what that is?
The Environmental Protection Agency, that's good too. No. EPA's earned points added or something like that.
It's like the equivalent of war.
It's like war in football.
Here we go. Let's just make up numbers now.
I'm not. Hey, it's an actual stat that gets used.
Up
Guess
next,
who's number one?
Craig gives you ESPN's FPI rankings.
Guess who's number one?
Diego Pavia.
How mad are you?
At that stat,
He loses games. He throws jump shots. As a 24-point dog, he's reckless with the football. Who cares? Throw caution to the wind. Who cares?
That's what Garrett Nussmeier does.
Who cares? He plays for Vanderbilt, ladies and gentlemen.
He does.
He plays for Vanderbilt. The expectations of them getting to the playoff or to the SEC championship do not exist. He is not worried about losing games. They are expected to lose games. He is going out there and throwing caution to the wind and just ripping it, because who cares? Okay, so you go to the Music City Bowl or you go to the Liberty Bowl. What's the difference? Who cares?
Home crowd advantage.
Just go and rip it. And that's what Diego does every single time he plays. That's why he's a pain in the butt to play. That's why he's also going to go and get a win at Auburn this week.
Whoa.
That's also why he is. Like, this is just what he does. Like, the guy, if you want another guy in the SEC to go win you a game, that's fine. But I'm telling you, it's really hard to make an argument against Diego Pavia.
Okay. You're calling.
He's just that good.
You're calling for the win.
Oh, yeah. Lock.
That's
Lock,
it.
stock, and barrel. Diego owns. Hugh Freeze's coach teams. 2-0.
Okay.
By a margin of victory of
You're on record.
30.
You are on record.
Locked in.
Done.
Lock, stock, barrel.
Got it.
Take them. Take the points.
Polar bear.
They can't go into Jordan Hare.
Services.
I know. Yeah, Aggies didn't last
Tell
year.
our listeners about
New
it.
Mexico State.
Polar bear services.
All right, Polar Bear Services. They're a one-stop shop. They can do so many things around your house. It's amazing. It's really fun to know that all I got to do is call one number, and I know that I can get my plumbing taken care of. I can get my electrical taken care of. I can get home. I can get small appliance repairs. I can get small appliance install. I also am going to get their specialty around the house, their HVAC system. They do an amazing job of making sure that your HVAC system is ready for the test that's coming here as the weather cools and as the winter approaches, serving all over Alabama. So call them. And remember, if you have a problem with your electrical, plumbing, heater, air, just pick up the phone and call the Bears. 205-497-BEAR. It's 497-BEAR.
All right. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation on SEC college football quarterbacks right after this on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We will get about it here in just a moment. Before we get to that in our next segment, GMAC, tell our listeners about Bromberg's, what they have for them.
Yeah, so many different things. You go in, you're going to have that first-class, one-of-a-kind service from the best sales staff. Regardless, I'm not kidding when I say this. Like, you go in there, you go to sales staff, buy anything, anywhere. But the sales staff and the personal touch that you'll get at Bromberg's is at another level. They've set the standard in fine jewelry, watches, giftware, and the best in customer service. They're the oldest business firm in the state and the nation's oldest family-owned and operated retailer. So you can go and enjoy that luxury shopping experience that you'll only find at Bromberg's by going and checking them out in Mountain Brook Village and the Summit. You can always shop at brombergs.com.
All right. Also, some other scores from over the weekend we didn't get to yesterday. Troy goes down to Arkansas State, 34-31, 100th win of Butch Jones's career. Arkansas State 5-3, Troy 1-7. Matthew Caldwell 22 of 33, 304, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Corey Rucker 12 receptions, 193 yards. Devontae Ross 11 for 126 for Arkansas State. Troy turned it over 4 times, had 9 flags. South Alabama, they knock off ULM. That's a nice win. 46-17. ULM goes to 5-2. South Al now 4-4. Gio Lopez 18 of 30, 168 yards, no touchdowns, but no interceptions. Kentrell Blackwell 18 for 141 on the ground. Fluff Bothwell 17 for 119 on the ground. Both had 2 rushing touchdowns. South Al ran 46 times for 358 yards and 6 touchdowns. Outgained ULM 526 to 387. Sanford goes down to Citadel. 28-11, Damian. A rough day for the Sanford Bulldogs. Not great.
It was. I don't know, man. When you go off that Mercer win, you're feeling good about this team, but it's just a SoCon, man. You can't slip up at any point, and they did.
Citadel 4-5, Sanford 3-4. They rushed 32 times for just 102 yards, 4 of 12 on third downs, turned it over 3 times. Magic City Classic, Alabama State gets the win, 27-19. They go to 4-3. Alabama A&M 3-4. Kareem Key, 14 of 20, 131 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Daquan Kinsey, 18 carries, 156 yards. Alabama A&M rushed 27 times for 61 yards, so could not get it done. Alabama State, 40 carries, 204 yards on the day. They picked off 3 passes as well. Huntington College goes down to Brevard, 21-25. They go to 3-4. West Alabama, they might be the best team in the state. By the way, 6-1. 38-0 over Chowan, Greg. Chowan 2-5.
Best in the state?
Might be. UNA went down to Central Arkansas, 24-19. Your rushing yard differential, 107-56 in favor of UNA. Central Arkansas, 2 of 13 on third downs, but UNA threw 2 picks and lost 2 fumbles. So they turned that one over too many times. Excuse me, not able to get the win. Tuskegee takes down Central Arkansas State 30-14. They outrushed them 209-62. Tuskegee's 5-3 on the season. Miles College take down Benedict 26-14. They're 6-2 on the season as well. So some local scores to get to there, let you know about. When we come back, we will get about it. We celebrate individual greatness regardless of outcome next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 8:47 a.m. Tuesday, October 29th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Never forget about a Train. As weather continues to cool off, protect your HVAC system with a checkup from a Train comfort specialist. When the cold weather hits, you're going to have peace of mind. You're protected by America's most reliable and trusted HVAC brand. Find a comfort specialist near you at Train.com. And remember, it's hard to stop a train. Each and every week, we celebrate individual greatness regardless of outcome. We get about it.
About it.
Team did win, but nonetheless, North Dakota State Bison, now 8-1, 5-0 in conference play. Starting quarterback Nathan Hayes went 9 of 15, 141 yards, 2 touchdown passes. It's not bad. I don't know if that's going to be about it, because Cam Miller came in, went 5 for 5, 128 yards, 2 touchdown passes. It's not too bad, but their favorite target of the day, wide receiver Bryce Lance, 4 catches, 108 yards, 3 receiving touchdowns.
Attaboy.
Which means Bryce Lance was
About it.
Ooh, that sounded good.
Coach is
Nice and gravelly.
Coach and Cole have the same cough, I guess.
He's been breaking up on us the last couple of weeks.
Coach, about it. All right, I'm going to give this actually to 2 guys. Both play for probably the hardest of the hard-nosed defenses around. Won't find anyone harder than North Carolina. Nobody goes harder in the paint than North Carolina, but they did have 2 guys along the front that combined for 5 sacks. Kamen Rucker off the edge also had an interception, 3 sacks, 6 pressures, and Bo Atkinson is playing a little bit on the inside and on the outside. Dude balled this past weekend. Crushed him on the run stops, had a couple sacks, also dropped in coverage at one point. So, defensive line tandem of Kamen Rucker and Bo Atkinson for North Carolina were
About it.
You bet they were.
There you go.
Guys, you know exactly where I'm going. In a trip up to Lexington, Kentucky, the one and only Jarquez Hunter, 23 carries, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, average 12.1 yards per carry. Jarquez Hunter finally makes an appearance in Bout It. Finally. Jarquez Hunter, Auburn Tigers running back, was?
About it.
You bet he was.
We know that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And what happened to the UTSA Roadrunners is not going to stay in Tulsa because our boy Cooper Legis, it's Legos, but it's spelled L-E-J-S. Right, I know, still close enough. They were down 42-17 at one point. Yet they found a way to get the win. And our boy Cooper went 16 of 31. Okay, not bad, 50%, not all that great. 333 yards. That's an eye popper, but not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 touchdowns.
Big Cinco.
Add in 46 rushing yards on 13 carries. I'm going to give it to, we'll go the French pronunciation, Cooper Lega, who was.
About it.
There you go.
In a loss, 49-38. This team has been mentioned on the show earlier today. The Lindenwood Lions, famous alum Kevin Stadenka, 4-5 on the season, get the win. 49-38, correct, over the Western Illinois Leathernecks. Leathernecks quarterback Nathan Lamb in a loss, 42 of 55, 564 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran the ball 11 times for 40 yards. Nathan Lamb, you are.
About it.
Dang, it wasn't because of him.
No, I could go the other direction with Lindenwood running back Steve Hall, who went 13 for 259 and 4 rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
All right.
About it.
Harvard and Princeton, is that a rivalry game? Do they have play for a trinket?
Yeah. Like a calculator.
Yeah.
That's fun, probably.
What's the Chinese calculator where you slide the beads over?
I think they play for the Golden Superiority Complex.
That too.
How do you carry that?
In your shoulders, I imagine.
On your sweater vest. Harvard would get the win over Princeton, 45-13. Harvard quarterback Jaden Craig, 26 of 33, 345 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, just 1 interception. He ran the ball 3 times for 15 yards and a touchdown as well. Jaden Craig, you are?
About it.
Love it. I got one for you. A guy that's just not getting enough credit for his team's victory. Well, or for a team's victory last week. He had 3 of his passes that were reeled in and taken to the house. He also threw for 321. He also added a rushing touchdown of his own. He was Syracuse's Kyle McCord. I referenced 3 of his passes that were taken to the house. They were 3 by the other team. So in a losing effort to account for 3 opposing touchdowns is something that's very difficult to do. It hasn't been done since FIU in 2005. So to throw 3 pick sixes in one half of football, when you're setting records that haven't been done in 20 years, that makes you
About it.
The first thing Sark sat down in our meeting and said with us, he was like, y'all see that game last night? I've never seen anything like it in my life. Never seen it. I was like, I got to be honest with you, Coach. Neither have I.
never ever.
Never. Never seen anything in a loss like Western Carolina quarterback Cole Gonzalez. In a 44-34 loss to Mercer. Mercer now 7-1 on the season. I don't know about their offense. I hadn't seen the tape.
Cool offense.
No, that's actually you called that offense this weekend, buddy.
Yeah, they changed.
Cole Gonzalez,
I
25
asked
of.
Drew Cronick if he knew you. He said no.
Yeah, I told you he was not going to remember me.
He doesn't like you.
Yeah, I'm the only person in the nation that's been pumping his offense up the last 5 years. Thanks, Drew. Cole Gonzalez in a loss, 25 of 47, 395 yards passing, 2 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, ran 12 times, 53 yards, another rushing touchdown on top of that. Cole Gonzalez, you are?
About it.
By the way, Drew Cronick, the OC at Navy, formerly of Mercer, Captain Cool Offense. He might be the world's nicest person, but he's not like what you would expect for like an innovative football guy. He's like very godly, like super, super into his faith, like really talked more about like Bible verses and like why he was called to go to Navy and stuff like that than like, I'm like, all right, I understand all that, Coach. I appreciate that. I am also a man of faith, but why do you do unbalanced on 3rd and 7? You know what I mean? Like, he's a really fascinating guy, and I'll be curious. He might get a big job at some point. Like, it would not surprise me at all.
Oh, okay.
I would not. He's a very impressive guy.
Stephen F. Austin knocked off Houston Christian 55-6. Sam Vidlak, Stephen F. Austin quarterback, 20 of 28, 316 yards passing, 5 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. He also ran for a touchdown. Sam Vidlak, you are?
About it.
So there you go. Anybody have any more? Is that it?
Nobody went for Garrett Nussmeier? He did throw for 405.
Not enough to the house.
Greg's over there celebrating interceptions.
Here, let's see what Jackson Dart did.
Should have thrown him over there.
Yep.
311.
Time before first pass for Jackson Dart. 7 seconds.
Why wasn't
Again, last
Pavia
week.
in there? He's the one you take.
Diego Pavia doesn't care. Caution to the wind. Let it rip. Cole's just such a prisoner of the moment. I've never seen someone that's so impacted by last week. You have to look at the bigger picture here. And
Definitely.
Cole, unless you played great, he's like AL.com writers. Unless you played great in the
Wow.
second half of last week, you stink to him.
I don't think they work for that publication, but good try.
Well, whatever publication it was. What have you done for me lately? I know it was the 4th quarter of a 34-0 shutout, but if you hadn't done anything in that quarter, you're dead to me.
I'm not against Diego Pavia. I'm not sure why. All of a
You
sudden
hate
think I
Diego
am.
Pavia and Garrett Nussmeier, and
Jordan
I'm mad at
Rogers
you for
is
it.
not against Diego Pavia. He's with us next. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Final hour. Jordan Rogers coming up here in just a moment. He was on the call for Alabama, Missouri. Billy Lucci joins us at 9:30. We do have a little bit of clarity now from the Texas A&M head coach as to what was happening after the game, but still want to talk to Billy about it and see his thoughts there and what he was attempting to try and do. Jordan Rogers with us now on the Buyers Right hotline. We asked this question a little bit earlier. You have one game to win. Your life depends on it. You have no say in scheme or personnel around you. Which quarterback are you drafting from the Southeastern Conference right now to go win said game?
Oh, you know what? I may get crushed for this, but despite what we saw, I'm still taking Garrett Nussmeier. I'm being honest.
Well, who would be second?
I just probably Beck. And I realize I just picked two guys that are coming off 3 interception games, both of them.
How is Diego Pavia not second?
Down.
That's all I care about. I care about Diego Pavia being second, and I'm great with Nussmeier being first because you and I would be on the same page in that circumstance. But
yeah, I mean, if Diego, what scheme do I get? His scheme, like, you know what I mean?
You have no
But who do I
say in
have
that.
around him?
You just get the guy. That's all you get. You just get the guy. Greg
Exactly.
said
So I'm
he would
taking-
take
I'm taking
Diego
Nussmeier.
first.
if I could take Diego and put him in Ole Miss's scheme, I think I can win a lot of games.
I don't doubt that.
You'll
No
throw
doubt.
the ball down the field.
I mean, 'cause that's kind of what.
How
Ole
hard
Miss
can
is
it be?
missing.
Guy's
Like,
6'5".
they don't
Let
do
him
the
run and jump
quarterback
and get
run
it.
stuff anymore. Like, yeah, he's got some you know what to him. So I love that. I don't hate that pick, but I'd still probably go. I'd probably go him 3. I'd go Nuss and then Beck and then maybe Diego.
Because what was interesting, then Greg, he moved the goalpost a little bit, not in a negative way, but he said, if we're just talking athletic skill, probably Taylor Green, maybe Jalen Milroe. So you had Jalen Milroe this weekend. I'm interested, just from a quarterback perspective, what you learned about him, maybe what you came away a little more concerned about, or what you really liked about what you saw from his game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird game, man. I mean, just even as much as Alabama was in control, it didn't feel like they played like really good football. It still feels like there's a disconnect on the outside, especially through the air with Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams. I did a little breakdown on some of the route running, and he's a young, talented player. But the week prior, 20 targets, only 8 receptions, only 73 yards. There's some route depth issues. There's some spacing issues. There's some communication issues between him and Milroe as like, when on a deep ball, you going over the top, you going back shoulder, what kind of leverage do you have? Where do you want it? And I think we still saw some of that. I mean, Milroe in the last couple of games, he's like 4 of 18 on throws 15 plus and 1 of 11 to Ryan Williams. So I do think there is, I'm not going to call it chemistry problem, but I think there's some timing issues and understanding issues that are still there that worry me. Now, we saw him run the football effectively, and I think everybody thought he was banged up or injured, and that's why they weren't doing against Tennessee. We sat down with Milroe, and we shared this on the broadcast. And he's like shocked. He's like, well, what do you think? What do people think I'm hurt? Where do they think I'm hurt? So he's healthy. He looked good running the football, but again, I still do have some concerns with the passing game, especially downfield. The last couple of weeks, it's been nearly absent. So I feel better if I'm an Alabama fan, but I still don't feel great.
What about the run game? It does feel like there's been more of a commitment made to it. I'm cautiously optimistic that that's going to be really important as they go forward because it will take some of the pressure off the passing game. So how do you feel like the run game has evolved the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, no, I feel like the quarterback design runs were back against Missouri. And as bad as Missouri looked and has been, I really respect that front. I still think they're really good up front. And they ran the football effectively and physically. I mean, Jam and Justice get downhill so well. You mix in the quarterback runs. But, Greg, you're right, because I'm talking about downfield shots. I'm talking about pushing the ball downfield. What they really don't have any of is play action. Or really, I mean, they have it. They haven't been effective on it at all. Like, their shots have come from just straight drop back. And you can't live in that world with Jalen Milroe, I don't think. And they don't want to live in that world. They've been forced to at times because of the scheme they're playing or because the ineffectiveness of running the quarterback or Jalen against Tennessee. But they have to get that going. I think they have to get some more traditional play action looks, not just the token zone read fake in front of the face, because that just doesn't do a ton to the defense. It didn't do a ton to Missouri. I do think they need to get some more downhill looks to open up some of those shots downfield, because right now they're just living in that drop back world. So that was encouraging, seeing the physicality in the run game. The push was better against a good defensive front. But I agree. I think that needs to be something they build upon to help open up the downfield passing for sure.
All right, so this will come as no surprise to you. Jordan Rogers of ESPN, the SEC Network, with us on the Buyers Right Hotline. I loved how Alabama got the north-south run game going. They felt more committed to it. I do think some of that was probably circumstance of the game, where it was comfortable and they could just kind of play that game, maybe trying to milk clock, whatever it was. But I think they can live there moving forward. Is that – and coming into that game, I don't think Nick Sheridan had called direct runs on more than 3 straight plays at any point in the season. Is that going to be more of an emphasis for this team moving forward?
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, especially when you got 2 backs that are not just both physical, but they're dynamic and they're explosive. You know, a lot of times you'll have a guy that can get going downhill. And that was kind of on the other side, Missouri, Marcus Carroll is a good running back, but he's not Nate Noel. They didn't have the explosiveness. Marcus Carroll can get his shoulders downhill and be physical, but when you aren't really a threat to put your foot in the ground and go 20 or 30, it's not going to affect the defense the same way. I think Jam and Justice both can do that. And you mix in Jalen. And, you know, I've always been a fan, and this is more just my background and being a guy that came up through high school and junior college and college under center, of the pistol stuff out of gun. And I kind of alluded to, I think a lot of times when there's a play action for Alabama, it's more the token cross face, inside zone or outside zone stretch look. And it just doesn't have the same effect on linebackers. I'd love to see them with some of the downhill success to use a little bit more pistol. I know it's not necessarily what they live in or what they've been, but I think they maybe need some of that action to influence the second level a little bit better and open up some of just the intermediate, right? Because even just some of the crossing routes and the dig routes haven't really been there for Bama, and let alone the deep shots, which you'd love to see, but just working the intermediate. We saw one crossing route to Jeremy Bernard on a really good play. Other than that, it was kind of absent as well. So I'd love to see a little more pistol. Again, that's where my brain works. That's what I see, not necessarily what I think Nick's going to do, but I'd love to see some of that.
What do you think they should do as far as the secondary is concerned? I mean, I feel like they played pretty well. I thought Bray Hubbard stepped into a tough spot and responded well to the challenge. I'm pretty optimistic with the way they're going defensively. So with so much of the conversation centering around what the offense shouldn't do, will do, etc., is this defense and their performance a little bit lost in the shuffle? And is this one that they can certainly build on?
No doubt. You know, but if you watch Missouri and Drew Pine, they didn't threaten them very much. You know, they're young and banged up.
No, what do you mean? And I thought they were all the Mizzou offense was all over it.
Yeah, you know, it didn't look great. You know, Drew had a couple throws that were slightly head scratching.
I like the seam inside the first pick. That was a good one.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I don't think he ever saw Malachi on that one. I don't know how he expected Luther to even get to a ball that was 10 yards inside of him on a seam. But yeah, that was an interesting one.
My favorite ball was the one at the seam that hit the Missouri receiver in the elbow, and he never turned around and looked at the ball.
Oh, his best ball of the night or the day, like right on the money.
I know it.
Dude, help a kid out.
You guys are just haters. I liked both those throws personally.
I have a soft spot in my heart for Drew because I too once was in Tuscaloosa and threw it to Bama quite a few times. So I understand the moment. But Greg, to your point, Kane, I think is confident in his young players, but he was definitely, when he sat down with us, like alluding to the fact just how thin they are. Obviously with Xavier out there and a couple true freshmen backing up corner spots, and they were banged up. And I think he's happy with how they play. I think he's happy with who they are. I think he's worried about how thin they are and their depth. And I don't think Missouri was a great representation of just where they're at on the back end yet, because there was zero threat of anything happening through the air.
Have you had a chance to watch the Auburn, Kentucky film yet? I know you watched at least the Kentucky defense.
Yes.
I don't feel like we need to focus too much on that part, but the other side of it, when you watched it, did you see, okay, Auburn can live here. Like, they can build on this. This can be, I don't want to necessarily say be repeated exactly the way that it was, but they can carry this through, the last month of the season. Did you have that sort of confidence when you watched it?
Yes, I did. But then again, it's last couple of games, even the Oklahoma game that I did, I was just screaming from the booth, why are we not handing it to Jarquez? You know what I mean? So, yes, I'm like, hey, here it is. But it's not like a secret. It's not this like, oh, suddenly we're like, hey, we got this running back that's really good. We should get him involved. So do I have faith that Hugh's not going to get away from it? I don't know. You know what I mean? Play callers start chasing things in games and you can get away from it. But they have to live there. They have to live in featuring Jarquez Hunter, featuring the physicality in the run game. Because honestly, Peyton hasn't played terrible. Hasn't really played, I don't even want to say terrible. Hasn't played bad in the last 3 or 4 weeks since, the 4 interceptions at Arkansas. I think he's got like 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Had the one last week, but if you watch it, you get 2 receivers in the exact same spot. The tight end gets walled off. He gets his eyes stuck there a little bit longer because he was trying to find that second read. And by the time he gets to the third or the fourth, whatever it was, JQ Hardaway's right underneath it. So don't hate that. That'll happen to you. I thought he's protected the football well. I thought he's made some good throws, good reads. But yeah, if you want to have success, you got to continue to give the ball to Jarquez. That's no secret. Whether Hugh trusts that and can do that, we'll see, because everybody in the stadium at Oklahoma a handful of weeks ago when I was doing it was like, okay, be careful. You got to lead. Be careful. Don't put the ball in Peyton Thorne's hands. And he continued to put the ball in his hands and not in Jarquez's. So my faith is hesitant at this point still.
What do you make of the Kentucky defense? I know you got them against Tennessee this weekend. I'm amazed at guys that were so dang reliable, how all of a sudden they just look like they're getting moved off the ball. I just don't know how that happened. I also don't think they did a very good job. I think they thought that their defensive front could just hold up against Auburn, so they didn't attribute a lot of extra defenders. They would occasionally play 5 in the box against 5 offensive line, and Auburn would gash them. So maybe they just underestimated Auburn, but what do you make of the defense and the regression we've seen the last couple weeks?
Yeah, I honestly just think the effort's been awful. It's been, I mean, when you flip on the tape, and I actually texted Cole this, I think it was yesterday, because I'd gotten done watching the Kentucky defensive tape, and I was watching the A&M defensive tape. And when you watch Kentucky, every one of their defensive linemen is standing straight up at the snap. I mean, there was many times when Deion Walker's first step is backwards with his right foot as he stands straight up. I mean, there is no get off. There is no pad level. They're not striking anybody with their face mask and then extending. I mean, it is, and you can't chalk that up to anything except for just want to and effort. Everybody's worked the shoots. Everybody knows at that defensive front you got to have a low pad level to create leverage. And they just look like they checked out the entire defensive front. And then Deion Walker will have 1 or 2 plays where he decides he wants to be the superstar that we've all seen the potential, and he makes a great play. But time in and time out, that defensive front has horrible pad level, not good effort, and they're getting pushed around. I mean, the line of scrimmage moves 3 yards downfield every single time last week against Auburn. And then, like I said, when you flip on like the A&M film, I realize that those guys have a little more talent, but the pad level and the get off, that's just effort, right? The first step or two is not talent as much as it is just effort and want to. And the pad level and the violence that unit created against LSU was just night and day. I mean, striking people, staying low, getting your helmet on people. And then again, you go back to the Kentucky tape and you're like, what happened? Because that's not who they've been. Like, go back to the Georgia tape. Like, against Georgia, they were dropping 8 and controlling the run game. And I was shocked at like 3rd and 3 and they're dropping 8 and just have, you can run it. Like, we're not worried about that. Like, they were controlling the line of scrimmage in that game. To see how bad they were against Auburn was, I think, shocking. And I don't know if I blame scheme or coaching, because those guys know what to do. Those guys have done it before, and they just chose not to.
100%. It looks totally different than it did earlier this year, and it has for multiple years. Finally, you brought up Carson Beck a little bit earlier, that you may take him as your quarterback to go win a game in the league this year. They get a Florida team that I'm not sure we know a ton about right now because they'll have a week off, and they looked pretty good the last couple of times we've seen them with a different quarterback in and a different tailback in. What do you make of their chances to maybe find a way to be competitive against Georgia this weekend?
I mean, it all, I think, just hinges on how Carson ends up playing, right? I mean, if Carson is just average or, below average, what we saw, I think Florida can stay in the game. I don't know if Florida can win the game. But when I see Beck, and Greg knows this, the timing is just bad. I mean, last year he led the entire country in time to throw, with the quickest time to throw. From snap to throw, he led the country. His decisiveness and timing never wavered. And I just don't think he's trusting the playmakers that he has or where they're going to be and when they're going to be there. I think he's hanging on routes a little bit. He's forcing things because he's caught looking, wait, is he going to break this off when I thought he was going to? And then you throw it and you're late. And you force it into what looks like double coverage, but if it was to come out, a second and a half earlier, or half a second earlier, it's probably open. So that's the concern. If Carson plays like that, I think this Florida team is much better than they're getting credit for. And I think they can hang around quite a bit with the talent that they have. And I think DJ, again, is a guy that can make 3 or 4 wow throws a game. Can he not make the wow, what was that throw? That just comes with some of the inexperience. But I think Florida definitely is built to stick around in this game. But if we see the Carson I usually expect to see, then I think Georgia handles this, without a ton of friction.
All right, we appreciate the time, Jordan. Always good catching up. Look forward to actually seeing you again this weekend.
Let's go. Appreciate it, fellas.
Knoxville. Thanks, Jordan. Jordan Rogers, ESPN, the SEC Network, joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline. Got plenty of time to preview Georgia, Florida this weekend, but do you view that game very differently than you did 2, 3, 4 weeks ago?
Yes.
Which is weird because Georgia looked so good against Texas in certain areas, but there were still some areas of concern, protection, quarterback play top to bottom. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if Florida can find a way to complicate that thing and make it a little bit different. It doesn't have to be complicated getting a playground in your backyard. You just go to Backyard Adventures right there on Cahaba Valley Road. You can see what they have. They're all assembled, and the kids can go play on them, and then you decide what you want, and they'll customize them for you. That's what Jeff and the guys do at Backyard Adventures. If you need a playground, you need a basketball goal in the backyard, they came and put a playground together in our backyard. Kids love it. They're playing on it all the time. Also, we got the basketball goal, just like you do, GMAC, and Backyard Adventures is responsible for it.
Yeah, they've been great. We've enjoyed it. Kids are outside playing on them all the time. It's been a huge, huge, huge hit for our children and for us as a family. I've been out there shooting with my sons as well. So go and check them out off Cahaba Valley Road, or you can always go online at backyardalabama.com.
All right, when we come back, talk a little bit more about that one. I mentioned we would hear from Hugh Freeze and Kalen DeBoer earlier. We'll do that next right here on Mac and Cube in the morning.
Welcome back, McElroy, Cubelic, good morning. 9:21 in Birmingham, Alabama. I'll tell you about my friends at Bill Smith Buick GMC. It's a short drive up to Coleman. It's actually texting with Andy Cole. We have a car that's on order right now. We are so excited to receive it. That will be the third that we've purchased from Bill Smith because I know that I'm going to have a better experience when I shop at the GMC Dealer of the Year. They have won that award 7 times. That's 7 times they've been named the national champion of GMC dealers. There's no one bigger in Alabama. There's no one better in Alabama. And there's no one that can give you a deal like a GMC Sierra 1500 SLT, really nice trim that's $13,500 off the list price. You're literally costing yourself money if you shop anywhere other than Bill Smith Buick GMC. Take the short drive up to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. 75% of their business is repeat customers because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. Take a short drive. You can also shop online. Have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
All right, Hugh Freeze not only talking about why that run game worked against Kentucky, also discussing a certain player returning to the Plains that he may be sick of seeing.
Had enough of him and what a competitor he is and the job that Clark Lee is and his staff have done there, man, to be in the games and have a chance to win all the games they're playing against the nation's elite is just so impressive. One of the scariest things, I mean, you're basically playing Navy. It doesn't look just like Navy, but you're not. I mean, Alabama had 44 real snaps of offensive football against them. Last year when we played him, the first time we touched the ball in the first quarter, I believe, was with 5 minutes and 5 seconds left. That's uncomfortable, and so they know who they are, and they're good being who they are, and so, and then he moves and makes plays and is savvy and smart and tough, and again makes everybody do their assignment on every single play.
So Hugh Freeze talking obviously about Diego Pavia, Greg. I do feel like the Auburn defense is a little better suited to manage this offense this year. Maybe number one, because it's an SEC opponent and because of what happened a year ago, and you're a little bit more aware of how dangerous they can be, but also just how some of the individuals are playing. I think that's going to lean into what Auburn wants to do. You look at just some of the defenders up front. And Keldrick Falks, first one comes to mind. He should be able to complicate some things out there on the edge. I would expect DJ Durkin to play more 3 down. And then 2 guys who I think could have big games here for the Auburn defense because of how they've been utilized and what they've done. Kieron Crawford and Jalen McLeod, guys who can line up as sort of your traditional 4-down defensive ends, can be 3 down off the ball linebackers, 3 down on the ball linebackers. Like their versatility kind of out there in the alleys, I think could be a big advantage for what Vanderbilt's going to want to try to do.
Well, anytime you're playing a team that has triple option principles, you have to defend the alley. I mean, that's really, really important. I also think, and for those that are unaware of what the alley is, that's really the area between the tackles and the slot receivers. I mean, basically kind of outside the mosh pit, if you will, and the areas between the defensive backs. So there's some space there. And option football really takes advantage of that space. So there's going to be a lot of things that they'll throw at him. I don't blame Hugh Freeze for being frustrated by him. This has been an offense that just kind of had his team's number. But I do think that everyone is cautiously aware of that. They're going to have to play well. I think they want to increase the tempo. We had Andy Burcham on earlier. He said, you need to run the football. You need to control the clock. Like, I don't agree. I think they need to create and manufacture big plays, but they can't get impatient. All that will be beneficial, but I think it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's a good matchup, and I could see it going both directions. I really could.
Did you just say outside the mosh pit?
Yes. Like it?
I've never heard the tackle box reference as the mosh pit before, but I'm not against it.
In option football? What else do you call it?
It makes sense.
It is a mosh pit.
I'm fine with it. I've never heard that description before. I'm cool with it. It's good.
In option football, to me, basically the mosh pit is any area. Well, it could be between the tackles, could be between the guards, but it's the mosh pit. I mean, that's what it is. Yeah, guys dive each other's legs. You're trying to read ends. I mean, guys are unblocked. I mean, that's what it is. It's just a complete chaos. So then you try to attack the alleys. And if you can defend the alleys, you're in great shape. If you can't, you're dead.
I love it. I'm all for it.
You've never heard us refer to it?
I've not heard you say that. No.
Oh, well, I've always thought that. So maybe I haven't said it on this show, but I've definitely said it before.
Yeah, it's good. I'll take it. All right. If your life is a mosh pit right now and you lack energy, you get poor sleep, feeling on edge, could be the effects of low testosterone. Game Day Men's Health wants to help you today. They're offering you a free consultation. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com, sign up for it, and this is what you're going to get. You get a free PSA test, a free testosterone test. Then you have a baseline of maybe why you're not feeling good. They're going to help you feel better. Weight loss programs, they have those at Game Day Men's Health as well. Multiple ones that you can choose from. Want to help you get the weight where it needs to be. And they're all about making you feel better. Great environment, good people. Not going to try to push you in anything that you don't want. Holistic approach to health and wellness. They've helped me feel better in a couple of different ways. They can help you also at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Go sign up for that free consultation, and remember this: minimal upfront costs from the programs they offer, and you can save 10% on any of those programs by mentioning Cube when you walk in the door. GameDayMen'sHealth.com, GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Why not sign up? Go get the consultation, see where you are today from our friends at Game Day Men's Health. Billy Lucci going to talk to us about Mike Elko and some of his comments here in just a moment. But first, Kalen DeBoer, getting prepared for LSU, not this weekend, but next weekend, was asked about that game.
Yeah, that's the way we're looking at every single one of them. Got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and we preach that just as far as emphasizing strain, when it comes to just what we do every day, no matter what the situation is. But, now we're really in that moment. And, I thought we passed the first test as far as it being in that kind of time of being uncomfortable. And the guys really honed in on what they can control, and that was a lot of focus, all the work that's needed to prepare to be great on Saturday. And, we took a step. Continue to be a work in progress. We'll always be that way. I don't care how good you are. But I'm proud of the way that they have continued to respond each and every time and everything we ask them to do.
That was Kalen DeBoer before speaking to the Birmingham Quarterback Club. So I don't know about LSU do or die. I get it from a playoff perspective, but he says he understands the pressure, Greg, and understands what comes with it, and they'll treat every game that way.
Yeah, I think that's the way you should approach it. Every game is do or die at this point. Do I think if they win out, they'll be in? Yeah, I just don't know that for sure, but I know for sure if they lose, they'll be out. I feel pretty confident in that. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but I think the staff's done a good job with the tough situation. I know people refuse to acknowledge that, and everyone's all mad, and I get that. I'm not saying that you need to be, pleased with the inconsistencies. You can always strive for better, and I think the staff is doing that. I really believe that they're doing everything they can with a roster that is just not maybe up to the standard that is expected in Tuscaloosa. So I'm optimistic. I'm not panicking. I think they have everything in front of them potentially.
The interesting thing about it is not everybody's going to win out. You say they win out, they're probably in. Well, a lot of these teams are going to lose down the stretch. And so that's obviously
and some of them might.
Alabama. And Alabama plays some of those teams. Mm-hmm. So, all right, when we come back, Billy Lucci talks about A&M's big win that they had over the weekend. And Mike Elko has told us what he was referencing. We'll hear that and then talk to Billy about it next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 9:33 a.m. Tuesday, October 29th. Jocks 94.5. Don't forget about my friends at Royal Automotive. They want to get you tailgate ready. Here before Halloween, they've got great deals for you. 19 unique truck and SUV options in one spot. $14,000 off select 2024 GMC Sierra models. 0% for 60 months is back on 2024 Volkswagen Tiguan models. Sign and drive 2024, 2025 Volvo XC40, XC60, XC90 models with zero down, zero due at signing, and zero for your first payment. Certain restrictions apply. Go see my friends at Royal. Going to help you get the best deal available. Royal Buick GMC, Royal Volkswagen, Royal Automart, Volvo Cars of Vestavia Hills, all at the corner of I-65 and Highway 31 of Vestavia. Online, royalautomotive.net. Remember, for every ride, there's Royal. We wondered who Mike Elgo was talking about. He said this yesterday to clarify.
Just the last thing, and it's just comical that I actually have to do this, but it's necessary. In the post game, I was asked to kind of give a synopsis on how we sell culture to our program. In doing so, I made a statement that seemed like a very benign statement that somehow managed to be taken as a shot directly at people. You guys gave me multiple opportunities in 9 months to take shots at people, and I've never done it. I have nothing but respect for Coach Fisher. I've said nothing but positive things about Coach Fisher. I'm the head coach at Texas A&M because of Coach Fisher. I appreciate who he is, everything that he's done, and for anybody in the media to think that that was what I was doing post LSU is it's asinine. And for it to be about any other head coach who gave me an opportunity and hired me, and that's not who I am. I've never been that person, and it's ridiculous, but it is what it is. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knows I wasn't talking to anybody directly.
All right, so that was Coach Elko yesterday clarifying that. Billy Lucci with us now on the Buyers Right Hotline. Did you see it that way, or did you think he was directing that at a certain individual when you heard it?
Well, it's not really fair because I didn't hear it live. So I actually, a lot of times after games, we'll communicate with Coach Elko. So it was later that evening, and I guess it had already gone, not viral, but it had already been making the rounds on Twitter. So that I actually kind of found out about it from him. So it was, he was already like, kind of surprised by the reaction. So look, here's the thing. All I'll say about it is, I think when he said fast talking, that's obviously what got everyone to go, oh, that's Jimbo, because you guys know Jimbo. I think he might be the furthest thing from a politician that there is. And even when he was here, it wasn't like he spent much time politicking donors or doing any of that type stuff. It was just football. But no, I just think, man, I think Elko's all about just getting the message out, how just upfront and honest they are with each other within the program, outside the program. And I think, it's probably more talk about NIL promises, things like that, and all the fluff that's going on right now across the sport. And just kind of making that statement that, I think he was trying to basically say we're blue collar, we're about substance around here, just that whole thing. And the fast talking thing, I think, is what just threw everyone down a certain road. And I actually understand why, but the part he said is true. Like, you guys know how this goes. And I've had countless conversations with him in the last 9 months. And not once have I heard him throw Jimbo under the bus. I'm talking about in private, how coaches, they don't tend to hold back when they're that opinionated. So no, could have done that to me in the safety of conversation and never did it. So I don't understand why he would get up there in front of a podium and do it after a high profile win.
What do you make of the quarterback situation right now? I mean, everyone seems to think it's going to be Marcel Reed going forward. I don't know if that's a guarantee, but which direction do you think this thing will go?
Yeah, I think I agree with what everybody thinks, but I don't think that's I think that'll kind of be a thing where they find out on Saturday. I think this might be one of those weeks, Greg, and you've probably been there at some point in your career at whichever level, but this might be one of those weeks where it's kind of a split rep situation. I don't know how much will go into who has the better week or not. Just from where I sit, though, I just feel like with the way Marcel ended that game,
man, you'd be hard pressed not to roll him out there to start. And look, it's interesting. I wonder what they're thinking in terms of that matchup against this specific team with that defensive line. In terms of like, if all things were equal, like, hey, who's the best matchup for this defense? But with the way Marcel played, and you can't go 4 touchdowns on 4 straight possessions, 5 with a field goal, and I just think you'd have a hard time. The team responded to him, right? Like, we all saw it, and they responded during a 3-game winning streak, and they responded the other night. Everyone's levels up. Is he the passer Connor is? Not yet, but there are games where Connor has been completely ineffective as a passer, 2 in particular. So I think it'd be difficult not to roll 10 out there and at least see the type problems he presents for a South Carolina D-line that, as you guys know, gets after it as much as probably any unit in this conference.
I don't think there's any doubt. Billy Lucci joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline, talking Texas A&M and that massive win against LSU. I feel like this offensive line, more than any in the SEC, has gotten better, improved the most over the course of the season. They had to play multiple guys at multiple spots in this game. Why do you feel like that group's been able to do what it's done this year?
Gosh, Cole, it's just – it has to be – I've been thinking about this all year because I just see in the spring and listening to the players that come through, you could tell that they were responding to Adam Cushing. You could tell that they were going to be better. But I didn't think it'd be like this. And like you said, look, they lost their starting center in the Notre Dame game in the first half. They lost TJ Shanahan for, 3-4 weeks. They've been rotating guys at tackle. Those guys have responded. And now they've lost, for now, he'll be back, but they lost Chase Basantis, who I think Cole is one of the better linemen in the SEC as a sophomore. I think he's that good. And they were without him. I wouldn't say they didn't miss a beat, but as the game wore on, Shanahan started doing, I thought, more and more nice things. And they just it's got to be coaching. And I also think it's blocking philosophy and scheme. And I think, Colin Klein brings that. He did it at Kansas State, where if they're going to do one thing, they're going to run the football and they're going to figure it out. And I think it's an O-line friendly scheme as well. But it's coaching, and I don't even mean technique. I do mean that too. But it's just getting through to these guys and coaching and preaching. Like, I talked about Greg a second ago. You know this better than me. It's coaching and teaching in a way that you can get cohesion from those guys up front, where they actually do work together as a unit of 5, regardless of who's thrown in there.
How do you think the secondary and the linebackers are coming along? We know the D-line's outstanding, and we know the numbers from this past weekend look pretty good, especially in the second half. But assuming a team can potentially slow down this pass rush and create some challenges because the quarterback's willing and able to take off and run to kind of just keep you honest, how has the rest of the defense come together? Because there might be some additional challenges down the road with some scrambling quarterbacks that they might face.
Yeah, I think the defense, the secondary, is where I really see an arrow pointing up. And I know LSU hit some plays, but they played great defense on some deep shots down the field. And that's something that I have not grown accustomed to seeing from Aggie defensive backs really since they joined the SEC. I think cornerback's been the weakest position in the program during that 12-year stretch, and it's probably not even close. But Scooby Williams, Damian Sanford, Torian York, man, they just get better and better each week at linebacker. And on the back end, I see guys breaking on the football, finding the football, running with defenders on double moves and deep routes. Like, it's impressive to watch them improve each week. And as you talk about the mobile quarterback, I don't think there's much you can do to keep the pass rush at bay other than getting the ball out of your quarterback's hands very quickly. And that's what Nussmeier was able to do throughout the first half, and he looked like a first-round draft pick. In the second half, if you look at those two picks, Elko and Bateman came out, and they gave man looks pre-snap, went and dropped in the zone after the ball was snapped, and it bought them just enough time for that D-line to start getting there. And then the mistakes came, and you got them on the run. So, and that's LSU's O-line. You know, that's Will Campbell and Emory Jones. Like, that was – and they got after him for 30 minutes of football pretty heavily. So I don't know how you keep them off other than play design, and maybe part of that is QB run game. I mean, they did a great job of bottling up Taylon Green in Arkansas. He had the one play, I think it was the third play of the game, where he avoided the pass rush, looked downfield, and hit the long touchdown. Other than that, they completely bottled him up. And that, I mean, I wish there was more of a body of work with Lenora Sellers coming up, but that's kind of the main one that they were tested by in terms of a running threat as a quarterback. So it'll be interesting, but man, if A&M's going to continue to win the line of scrimmage, particularly, you know, when the opponent has the ball, when they're on defense, and really dominate up front the way they are, I think everything else we're talking about is kind of a byproduct of that. And when Cole mentions the O-line and how they're playing better and better, it's if they could get the quarterback thing consistent, and because we're talking about like the high-end goal now, right? To get there, I think if they could get the quarterback thing consistent, they're most Saturdays, I think they're going to win the line of scrimmage. You know, and this will be, I think, their biggest test in terms of that O-line, Cole. This will be their biggest test, even more so than Notre Dame, who I thought was a great defense. But this one in Texas, you know, obviously stand out. But I think this one, I think South Carolina off a bye, coming off that OU destruction, homecoming at night. Look, I've tried to tell A&M fans, like,
Governor's Trophy on the line.
The Governor's Trophy that's just so coveted in these parts and in Columbia. But I'm like, I try to tell people, it's okay. Like, because everybody's like, man, South Carolina's going to be tough. That's fine. Like, what you're talking about for A&M is, can they make it to Atlanta? If you're worried about can they beat Texas, well, guess what? If you're going to beat Texas, you need to be able to go on the road and beat South Carolina. You're talking about playing for an SEC title. You're talking about a college football playoff. Like, you can't duck around and find the easy path. And this is going to be obviously anything but easy. I think this is A&M's toughest game of the season. I think it's tougher than getting LSU at home at Kyle Field in that environment.
Absolutely. Forgive me, the Bonham Trophy.
Who's the Governor's Cup? How should that's very.
I think Governor's is South Carolina against Columbia against Mizzou.
Oh gosh, how is that even? What do those governors have in common?
Bonham Trophy, named and modeled after Alamo battle hero James Bonham, commissioned in 2013 by former Texas Governor Rick Perry and then South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. It's a prize for the winner of the annual SEC cross division matchup between the Aggies and Gamecocks. Not so much anymore.
Who knew? A couple of presidential candidates.
There you go, Billy. Always great stuff. We appreciate the time and look forward to catching up with you soon, man.
All right, guys. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Billy Lucci there. TexAgs.com. Go find out anything you need to know about Texas A&M there. And I agree, Greg. This D-line's different, man. This is a heck of a test that the Aggies going to face in this one right here.
It'll be a great test, but I think they can hold up. The question is, you're probably going to have to beat them a little bit through the air with some catch and runs. I mean, that's how you beat A&M. You're going to have to get the ball out quick. You're going to have to get some catch and runs, and you better have some wideouts that can do it. And I don't know. Personally, right now, I don't know if South Carolina has those guys. I think that's a real question mark.
Okay. All right. When we come back, we'll give you a historic bad box score of the day for multiple reasons. Before we do that, you have no response to that? That doesn't get you excited?
No, because it's not an all-timer. I only respond to all-timers.
It is an all-timer.
Historic
as well,
could be historic could mean any
all-timer anymore. So
historic can mean anything.
I said multiple ways though. What you don't want are wildlife in your home. Wayne's can help you with wildlife removal and exclusion services right now in Birmingham and Huntsville, whether it's rodents, squirrels, raccoons, bats. Wayne's has a team of wildlife pros that know how to handle these invaders. No more worrying about property damage or dangerous diseases with Wayne's wildlife removal and exclusion services, GMAC.
Wildlife. Always
Get
the
them out
wildlife.
of here. Get them out.
Wayne's will handle your wildlife.
Wayne's is the offensive line to your wildlife's defensive line.
That's right. You also, just so you know, by the 31st, so if you call them today and tomorrow, use the offer code JOCKS, you'll get that first month of Envirolon service absolutely free. So call them at 866-WAYNES-1. Get that Envirolon service, get the termite, get the pest protection, the wildlife services, and the Mosquito Plus. You can get all those, but the first month of lawn care is free if you sign up here in the next 24 to 48 hours by going to callwaynes.com, use the offer code JOCKS, that's JOX, or by calling them at 866-WAYNES-1, use the offer code JOCKS, and let Wayne's continue to create your happy place.
Historical bad box score of the day next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, tonight, World Series, Game 4. Dodgers look for the sweep. Greg is calling for a bullpen game. Do they get it? Not the bullpen game. Do they get the sweep?
No, I think Yankees will get this one tonight.
Okay.
If they go bullpen game, it's going to be tougher, though, because the bullpen game has been really good. Does Judge make contact tonight?
He's made plenty of contact in the series. I don't know why you would say that.
7 strikeouts and 12 at bats.
Is he going to break out? No.
Has anyone been more exposed this postseason than Aaron Judge? Has anyone to be the number 2 player in the game at worst?
What are you talking about exposed?
The guy is so overrated in the postseason. He just hits for power. He's protected in the lineup during the regular season. He rakes off terrible pitching.
How is he not protected in the lineup in this series?
He is, but guess what? It's playoff pitching. And as someone that is a Dodger fan, that has acknowledged multiple times that the postseason is a different animal, and we often hit for power too much. And Max Muncy is not the same guy in the regular season he is in the postseason. Like, you got to have some dogs in the postseason, like Kike Hernandez, who can't do anything in the regular season, but in the postseason, he's a monster.
You mean like Mr. November?
Yeah.
Derek Jeter?
Like Tommy Edman. Like, these guys are like, do nothing in the regular season, but postseason comes on. It's like, oh my gosh, where'd this guy come from?
It's a great point. Think about like some of the great Yankee teams like Tino Martinez, Paul O'Neill. Not that they didn't hit anything during the regular season, but they were huge.
They were fine in the regular season, but they became war daddies in the postseason. Like, that's the difference.
Kind of like Freddie Freeman has this postseason.
Ooh, golly, with one leg.
That's pretty impressive.
It's amazing.
Hitting a baseball with one leg.
The best part about it is he used to play for Atlanta. Oh, God. How good is that?
Root for him.
I love it. I love so much, though. I have buddies who are like, oh, it must be nice to buy a championship. I'm like, yeah, must be nice to be able to buy a championship.
Judge 0 for 3 last night, 1 for 12 in the series, 7 strikeouts, 6 for 43, 20 strikeouts this postseason. He has whiffed on 36 of 66 swings in his last 6 games. It's the most swing and misses by any 6-game span in his career.
But look how big.
But you still have Juan Soto. You still have Giancarlo Stanton.
Soto's a beast.
You also get New Mexico State FIU tonight, ULL Texas State, La Tech Sam Houston State. Tell our listeners about B-Dry.
B-Dry has been serving Alabama and customers here in the community for more than 60 years, and they continue to back things up with the life at the structure warranty. So if they had something that went wrong and they worked on it 60 years ago, guess what? They'll still come out. They'll get it fixed because they are the very best. You get the job done right with the largest waterproofing company in the country. You get the strongest warranty, a life at the structure warranty, and you get the best price. It's 12 months, interest-free, no payments for 12 months. So you get the job finished, still have some cash on hand for some winter fun. So call B-Dry now at 942-1976, or you can visit bdryalabama.com.
The Illinois College
Fighting Illini.
Statesmen.
Blue Boys got their 500th win in school history, knocking off Lawrence College 84-0.
Lawrence College Martins.
No, they are the Vikings.
Makes sense.
Dumb.
714 to 163, your total yards, 3-man front.